Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Central Co-op County Ground here at Derby. We've got a bit of a stormy day here, but the match is for Derbyshire versus Yorkshire. Good afternoon. A warm welcome to this 20-over game in the Vitality Blast. This is League Division 2, so they are working towards two semi-finals and a final on Saturday the 26th of July down at Northants County Cricket Ground, if you want to get your tickets already. My name is Claire Jenkins. I'm a former Derbyshire player, and I have with me, I'm going to hand over in a moment to Freddie Cardy from Derbyshire on the live stream, but you should know that we're due to start at 2:30. Freddie's going to run through some social media as well. So Freddie, you've got the teams for us, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got the teams. As you say, Yorkshire winning the toss, no surprise really. Electing to bat. We had a men's last game here last night in Lancashire, batted first and scored over 240. By all accounts, it's an absolute belter of the pitch. And, Derbyshire will be bowling first. Jess Cooser, Lara Shaw, Megan Pittman. I'll just get the first names up as well. Ella Porter and Adriana Darlow, Rhiannon Knowling-Davies, Maria Andrews, Francesca Clark, Gemma Rose, Caitlin McDonald, Harriet Parkin and Pagan Hardwick as the 12th man. For Yorkshire, Georgie Boyce, Amelia Oliver, Steer Callis, who is just
Been referring to her as Stair Miles Callis whenever I've seen her. And so she, not only is she playing, she's a Yorkshire player, she's on loan to Warwickshire, she's also a Dutch international, so recently she was flying out to Kampong to play in an international games, which were rain affected, which is probably very upsetting for her logistics, because her logistics must be an absolute nightmare. And in fact, I was talking to somebody who does a washing for her. So Hannah Baker's mum yesterday was saying I had to do a washing for her because she's running around so much. So bless her. Yeah, so we're going to see Stair Callis. We've got one or two changes, haven't we? So Nightingale also has played for Derbyshire, but is going to play for Yorkshire. Is that right today?
yeah, sort of part of our agreement that if it is a Yorkshire versus Derbyshire game, of which we have had a few.
Yes.
Two wins, one other end who is numberless.
Yes, because I got a little bit of info from one or two people. So Dr. Jane Powell, who's hosting the test up at Headingley, since she's president of everything in Yorkshire, she was saying to me that if they're on the, if they're only on the academy, they don't get numbers.
Here is then Oliver facing up, defends into the onside. And Clark, you can look to shape the ball in. She was, last time we were here, she was up in commentary with me alongside Lara Shaw, and two key players for Derbyshire. They were both out injured in that heavy defeat to Yorkshire in the 50-over tournament. But since then, as I say, Derbyshire always know they're going to be underdogs in these games, as Clark continues, again defended, and a solid start for the home side. This is their second game, Derbyshire Falcons women at the county ground. And a former Derbyshire player yourself, as you mentioned, but you never played here.
No, the one occasion in the, I think, 7 seasons, I think we decided on in the end that I played.
Try and get that sorted, but
bear with us. We're going to carry on and hope that they twiddle the knobs right for us. A couple of offices up.
It's always something for these live streams that will go wrong. But just 2 off the first over, a single and a wide. Clark to try and close it out, and she will do so with a dot ball. An excellent start for Derbyshire, just 2 off the over against Francesca Clark. In fact, she's got one more because of that wide.
Yep. Bonus ball.
Yeah, she'll take this every day, though, against Oliver, the youngster. Clark to finally finish the over, played out into the covers, and they will try and race through for one. It's a wayward throw through to the wicketkeeper at head height, really, and actually could have been a chance for the run out, but the throw was just never really going to give them that opportunity. But 3 for no loss off the first over.
Oh, we're up and running.
Against Worcestershire next Saturday, exactly the same time of week.
In again. Voice plays that straight to the cover fielder. It's the opposite, beg your pardon. Oliver plays that straight to the fielder who's on the ring there. We should just mention that the differences between the men's and the women's game. That circle is 25 yards in the women's game, despite what others might tell you. 25 yards in the women's game, 30 yards in the men's game. The numbers inside and out are different in the men's and the women's game as well. But in this case, in the power play, there are only 2 fielders allowed outside that in the women's game. As Andrews prepares to come in again, this time to Boyce. Plays that into the offside. The lovely gap there. It's going to go across the carpet. We've got the first 4, Freddie!
We do, yeah. It's just too wide with the field set there. The 2 fielders out were on the leg side, and she just couldn't afford to give her that sort of width. And, Boyce not going to miss out.
Yeah, so Boyce is on loan at the moment from the Blaze. So he's getting some batting practice here if Derbyshire don't pin her in.
born the other side of the A52 in Nottingham as well. And long career for a 26-year-old, actually.
She's been by Lancashire as well.
Yeah.
She comes forward, plays that into leg side, but only down and defends it, and there is no run.
Yeah, that's much better with the field that she's got set.
Yeah, Boyce has played for several teams, but yes, on loan to Yorkshire from the Blaze at the moment as Andrews comes in again. Some flight, and Boyce has a play at that, but it goes straight through to the wicket keeper, and there is no run.
Yeah, interested to see if they can find any turn. It's been dry. We've had a bit of rain around. It's incredibly humid. But like I say, this is a pitch that's probably going to favour the batters.
Yeah, and they're putting in I was going to say slip, but she's moving to third. Sort of shortish third. So is this a plan? Boyce readies herself, goes back, plays that straight to the cover fielder, and there is no run. And that's the end of the over. So 8 for no loss are Yorkshire at the end of the second over.
Just looking down there at the number 4, I think it's Lara Shaw who was fielding there, but she's down as the number 56 on our team sheets. But
just to confuse us.
Just see.
We'll catch up.
But Clark will continue. Decent start again there from Andrews, 5 off the over.
Yeah, Boyce on 5 and Oliver on 2.
First boundary of it as well. So Clark will continue from the city end. Bowling to Oliver, he drives out to the offside, and already for some of these spectators who maybe haven't seen Derbyshire women up and down the country, there's certainly a noticeable improvement in some of the fielding in the ring. This isn't an easy ground to field on. It can be a bit of a bobbly outfield, and maybe the weather won't have helped with that as well. But Derbyshire have done well in the ring so far as Clark continues. Bit of width offered, and they do have protection back on the boundary in the form of Gemma Rose, who took 4 last time out here, and actually should have had 5. I think it was maybe her last over of her spell. There was an easy catch dropped, and she was absolutely gutted to miss out on the 5.
Was that the Metro Bank game?
Yeah, earlier on this season.
The 4 that she did get: Lauren Winfield Hill, Duckworth, Callis, and Ward.
Full toss there. The shy at the stumps, not far away. I think it would have been gone as well. Boyce was struggling, and the fielder is down there now. I think she knows it. And just Derbyshire putting a bit of pressure on here. There's a couple of half a chance for a run out, and Clark is continuing to subdue these opening batters. She comes in again, full, driven, and again, another good stop inside the ring, and they won't try the single this time.
Stop there.
And Oliver just being subdued here at the moment.
Yeah, I mentioned that I haven't played on this pitch, even though I was a Derbyshire player, but I went and put my feet on the ground, just like I said, I put my feet on, but it is pretty bubbly in the outfield.
Here comes Clark again. Lifted out to the leg side, lovely shot, and Boyce continuing on in the way she wants to play. It's another boundary, and Yorkshire moving swiftly on to 13 for no loss.
Nice shot there, picking a gap there, Oliver.
First boundary against Clark's name, but certainly Derbyshire won't be too phased by this start because, as I say, there are runs in this pitch. Clark continues, and nicely taken behind the stump. She's an excellent wicket keeper, Megan Pittman. I think two stumpings and a catch in the win over Northants, and you need that, especially when you are the underdog, as Derbyshire are going into Yorkshire. It's these fine margins that you want to sort of tighten up on, and this has been a decent start for the home side.
Especially in a short format, isn't it? Because you haven't got the time to make all of that up, like you might have in the 50 over Metro Bank stuff. So we've got to change a bowl in this end. Freddie.
It's going to be more spin with the captain, Adriana Darlow.
Adriana Darlow from the racecourse end, 17 on her back. She's just surveying the field. Boyce to face. Oh, place that back. Oh, through the hands of the bowler there. Oh, are we saying that's a chance?
I'm not sure. I've had to look at the replay when it eventually comes its way around. It was smashed back. I don't know if it was a.
Boyce got hold of that one. Oh, yeah, maybe. Right arm over, a bit more spin. Boyce takes a big swipe at that. It's underneath the field. I think it's going to be 4 runs. It's into the corner. I can't see there.
Yeah, that's 4.
Yeah.
Cleanly struck again.
4 runs then to Boyce, 4 more to the total. Yorkshire move on to 14 without loss. They're going to go to 18. No, 14 without loss.
Yeah, lovely use of the feet.
In again. Boyce plays that this time into the leg side. There is a fielder who's going to cut that off. They think about 2. Decide against it. There's a bit of a nervy start here for Yorkshire.
Maybe a few miscommunications. I mean, Boyce hasn't played too many games, has she? And Oliver, who scored 39 not out, actually, in Yorkshire's Vitality Blast opener against this opposition.
Yeah, that's played through point, underneath the point fielder. They got through for 1. I don't think I'd have to run this because I think it's going to stop in the outfield.
Oh, it does.
2, it does stop, yeah, about a foot in. They've had to, Georgie Boyce had to run 3 there, I think.
Sort of nobody is the winner there. Batters have to keep running, fielders have to keep running. Nobody really gets the result they wanted.
Was that 3 or it must have been 3 because they ran for ages. Yorkshire on 14 without loss.
Yeah, our scoreboard's a little bit behind as well.
Yeah, we're just catching up. Bear with us. That's played into the leg side past the Grace Bambury square leg umpire. They're going to get 2. There's a bit of a fumble in the field. It's got a long boundary that side. They get through for 2. 2 more to Boyce. Moves to 13. Off the 10 balls she's faced. Oliver on 10 at the other end. Yorkshire on 24 without loss. They put the short third back in again, taking her out of the leg side. We've got protection at cow corner and long on. The Boyce who takes a big swap. It's straight to the fielder on the ring there, and there is no run. Still nervy. That, like as you say, maybe Boyce is a bit rusty. I know she's on loan to get that match practice, but also she hasn't batted much with Oliver. It might be. Maybe there's a bit of that going on.
Yeah, and Derbyshire put some pressure on, in the field as well. But also, you'll be tested again when there are those misfields as well, because then you have those extra decisions to make. So almost good fielding, but then less than standard fielding could also cause problems in equal measure as well.
I've got lots of theories. We're going to hit lots of theories today. But one of my theories is that a good boundary size is where you can run a 3. Well, they proved that the boundary size is right here into that pocket at mid wicket, but it's slightly damp maybe from the little shower they had beforehand. And they might well find that if it stops, they might have to just keep running. Here at the Central Co-op County Ground.
Yeah, only just picked up the sponsor, actually. It was announced when England Women played the West Indies here.
There was staff from the Co-op here.
Freebies and stuff. Here's McDonald, the left arm seamer, driven out to the offside just for a single this time. McDonald can bowl full. She looks to get a little bit of shape back into the right-handers.
So relatively new sponsorship thing then?
Yeah, it was. I think it was completely sponsorless for all of our seasons. So we've seen a lot of sort of new boards go up around the ground, and that was obviously the big occasion they felt against the West Indies of England Women coming in here. That rare opportunity of a televised game as well.
Sunny day as well.
Yeah, it was freezing last year when it was Pakistan.
Yes.
So McDonald comes in again, and if she got any of that, how much of that was bat, how much of it was pad, it will be 2, and the umpire will signal leg byes.
Grace Bambury says it was a leg bye, although it looks a little bit. We've got our batter has her back to us, so I couldn't quite see what that came off. Grace said it was a leg bye. That's good enough for me.
Did looking back at the replay, it was. Even our media centre has a new sponsor itself as well.
Oh, yeah.
McDonald will continue from the city end, wide left alone, and the umpire will stretch her arms out. No real hesitation there, and Boyce happy to let that one through to the keeper. Interesting mix of 2 overs a spin in this power play as well, and all the seam so far coming from the city end. Play that again to mid off, no run.
Georgie Boyce sort of struggling with the timing here, almost, and she's shadow playing a shot. They did have the hover covers on and off with the little sprinkles of rain we had.
Yeah, another new thing at this ground as well, the hover cover. I think Derby becoming the first test ground to have one, which the ground staff certainly very proud of. As that's down the leg side, it'll be another wide.
Yeah, we were debating, weren't we, watching them do it. It used to take a lot of people, the old covers, but these hover covers are brilliant. Although they did still have to pull it quite hard to get it across.
They would their back.
Yeah. It's good exercise.
Yeah,
Gosh,
to be able to
like
do
a workout.
So McDonald with extra cover, deep mid wicket on the boundary. It's very full, and she got some batter now. We have sort of got that angle where it's quite hard to tell.
Yeah.
Behind the batter and the wicket keeper, especially when the keeper stood up to the stumps.
Yeah, we're sort of sat at fly slip to the ball coming in here. Very, very fly slip. But yeah, wrong angle to judge that. Because
we did hit the pads, but she was standing outside leg stump, so no need to appeal. So Derbyshire will be quite content with this start. I'd imagine they'll be looking to find a wicket and stop some of these extras as well. It's another wide for McDonald.
Still in the power play, 6 overs of power play where there are only 2 fielders allowed outside the 25-yard circle in the women's game. 30-yard in the men's game. The numbers inside and out are different in the men's game too.
Few people in here at Derby. If you're watching on and you're local, it's free entry to come down, as that's played back down the ground with real authority from Boyce for 4 more, and just being able to throw the hands up one, she'll have enjoyed that, because she, as you say, she's not really been able to completely nail a shot like that so far.
Yeah, maybe a confidence boost, which Derbyshire won't be wanting her to get. She's been taking big wind-ups, but not quite timing the ball. She's checking the field now, just checking where her gaps are on the leg side.
Yeah, knew that McDonald had to be straighter after conceding a few wides in this over, and ready to just lift it down the ground. So long on in now, moves round from deep mid wicket. McDonald to complete her over, and that is huge. It's where mid wicket was actually, and it's gone. Oh, it's one bounce for it. It was very, very nearly a maximum, and 2 fantastic shots from Boyce to close out the over. And Yorkshire, I think that takes them along to 38 for 4, for no loss. Sorry.
Yeah, as you say, we have got some spectators in. And, I don't know if we've got some under cover, some out in the open here, with some good views opposite us.
Yeah, new stand-in as well, round to our left.
Yeah.
Which I think the aim was for it to be a bit of a party stand, but it's not quite. It's still the permanent temporary stand, as it's called. The down from where we're facing, that seems to be normally where it is. But no home win for the men's side in the Blast. But second in the county championship, that gets back underway tomorrow. This as it is the only domestic county game today.
Very respectful there. Watching that one.
Important over this final one of the power play after Yorkshire were able to move the score along in that last over with those extras and the 2 boundaries.
Darlow in again. And Oliver shapes to come forward and then thinks about a run and then thinks better of it, because I don't think Georgie Boyce is on the same page there. Yorkshire 38 without loss. And we're in the last over the power play. 4 more balls to bowl. Darlow, the captain, left arm around. Oliver rocks back, plays that straight to the short fielder, and there is no run. Well picked up there at short mid-off.
Yeah, Yorkshire, rightfully, after how well Andrews bowled against Northants, maybe just being a little bit more watchful.
Yep. Oliver in again. Oliver forwards. Oh, it's another cotton bowl chance. As you think, they also think about a run. I'm getting the distinct feeling that these two have not batted much together, because they're not quite on the same wavelength here in terms of Boyce is just going to have a little chat under the wicket. and give Oliver some advice, maybe.
Yeah, that was a chance as well. A difficult one, diving away to her left, but it was a chance for caught and bowled.
Oh, in again, Oliver, wailing a bat, plays that outside of off, straight to the fielder, that they get through for a run because the fielder has to make some ground to field that back to the wicketkeeper. They just get the single. Yorkshire on 39 without loss. 1 ball left of the power play, so can Derbyshire make the most of this as they do the usual end of over manoeuvre where they put in the short third. Cover at long on and deep mid-wicket for Boyce, who's going to face this one. Plays that down to long on. Fielder cuts it off. Yes, good. That's a good bit of fielding down there. And they think about whether they should take the second, and they do take it. There was a bit of a big hesitation in the middle there. That's the end of the over. So that's the power play done. 6 overs in, and Yorkshire are 41 without loss. Boyce on 23 and Oliver on 12.
If you're in this situation, we're out in the middle, there's clearly, a few miscommunications. How do you go about handling that when you're one of the batters or perhaps when you're the coach watching on?
Well, the expectation, obviously, of Boyce will be that she, as the senior pro, as the Blaze pro player who's over here on loan, she's doing exactly what she should be doing, having a chat, trying to get eye contact with somebody who is less experienced when you're batting. And make sure that you're doing some nice, clear calls, because if you get the calling right, it can feel like almost cheating in terms of getting that communication right, and also putting the pressure on the fielders again if you get your calling right. So hopefully that's what Georgie Boyce was imparting to Oliver, who will face this one.
Yeah, Rhiannon Noeling-Davies to come in at the end of the power play. 2 fielders out, 3 out, even on the leg side is Noeling-Davies. Played out to mid-wicket.
Noeling-Davies took 3 for 2 against Worcester.
Yeah, that was if this is a batting pitch, that was a bowling pitch, wasn't it? You were down there. Yeah. Often is down at Worcester.
Yeah. Took 2 for Gloucester as well, including the opener.
It's nicely taken again behind the stumps by Pittman, and valuable dot ball. Yeah, Oliver 12 of 21 now, and again maybe Boyce has shown a bit of that leadership really by actually she's going to be the one who puts her foot down whilst Oliver sort of finds her way into this innings.
Yep.
Partnership is 41 of 38 as Noeling-Davies comes in again, and mid wicket once again in play for another dot ball. Maybe a few signs that as much as this pitch was a belter last night, it's maybe not flying off the bat as we might have expected.
Yeah. And I got to also should thank Michael McCann. He's one of my colleagues on the regional setup. He gave me some various bits of advice. He says Oliver likes the point and cover region.
That's chipped down the ground, and should only be a couple if they do push for 2, and they're not going to. And again, it's maybe one of those, actually there was 2 there, but the hesitation, the lack of communication, now they're going to miss out because that was sort of perfectly in between the 2 fielders.
Yes, I think the coaching staff might be having some discussions about what were you thinking when you were calling and running between the wickets.
Yeah, Oliver came through Northern Diamonds Academy.
Yeah.
Non-strikers in now as Boyce faces, and that's big, but there's a catching chance out in the deep, and it's taken. And Noeling-Davies breaks the opening partnership. It's an excellent catch. It was in the air for a while. It looked like it was going to clear the boundary for a large part, but Derbyshire are on the board, and it's the big wicket of Georgie Boyce.
Yeah, it was almost like everyone was holding their breath as the ball went up in the air. Like you say, when it set off, it looked like it was going to clear the rope. Because there's a decent sized boundaries here at the Central Co-op County Ground. But that will be the wicket they'll have wanted, because as you mentioned, leadership, and Georgie Boyce looked like she was imparting some useful knowledge there to Oliver. But she has to go back to the dugout, unfortunately.
Yeah, Lara Shaw was who took the catch.
Excellent.
Deep mid-wicket, and that's a timely breakthrough for Derbyshire, who, maybe well, have felt it wasn't a bad power play as much as it's a decent score for Yorkshire. But you can see there were some, these miscommunications out in the middle. Oliver's yet to really get going, and now for Derbyshire to remove Boyce, who was playing some of the big shots. And but I think it's going to be Callis walking into the middle. So that's the thing with this Yorkshire side; it never really gets easier once you do get people out.
Yeah, so Georgie Boyce finished on 23 off the 17 balls that she faced with 4 fours in that innings. In fact, it would have been 18 because the scoreboard I'm looking at is just catching up. Yes, Steer Callis. So Yorkshire contracted, but being loaned out to Warwickshire. She got 50 for them yesterday at Edgbaston in the sunshine. Also playing for the Netherlands. The Dutch Dynamo, as Marco McCann describes.
Here she is facing up for her first ball, and again not quite timed out into the offside. And Noeline Davis with an excellent over, just 1 run off it, and the wicket of Georgie Boyce. Absolutely outstanding start for the seamer.
Yeah, and I think that will keep Derbyshire interested, getting that wicket and getting the big wicket of Georgie Boyce on loan from the Blaze at the moment. So it looks like Darlow to continue from the racecourse end. She paces out her run up, tossing the ball hand to hand. Again, we've got the cover down here, long on and deep mid wicket. But now that the power play is over, we've also got long off and deep sort of cover point boundary as well. So we've got 4 out, as Oliver will face this time. Right arm over. That's played into the offside, straight to the fielder who comes and sweeps that up, and there is no run.
I think even just taking the catch there out on the boundary, that will settle a lot of nerves, because Derbyshire's, they dropped a number of catches against Yorkshire in the 50-over game here, and that'll be a real boost.
Yeah. Full toss, and it goes past the fielder at short mid-wicket. It's cut off on the boundary here. There's another good bit of fielding down in front of us. And they get through for 2. So 2 more to the score. Yorkshire move towards that first milestone of moving towards 50. Now on 44 for 1. Callis yet to get off the mark, and Oliver on 15.
Yeah, really good bit of fielding there by Noeline Davis after her over.
It was. Oliver plays that straight to cover again. They think about a run, but think better of it. And there is no run. 44 for 1, Yorkshire. What pressure can Derbyshire bring? Big wind up, it's gone down to long off. There's a fielder there who's going to cut that off. We just get the 1. 1 more to the total. 45 for 1. Yorkshire here at the Central Co-op County Ground, Derbyshire. Yorkshire won the toss and decided to bat first. And there is some weather in the air. We hope that's not going to interrupt matters, as Darlow just makes some adjustments to her field. She's putting in that short third again. Just running behind the wicket-keeper. Darlow to Callis this time. Tapping a bat. Plays that to the point region, underneath the point fielder. They get through for 1. It was a very confident shot from... I don't think Callis had actually seen what happened with the fielder, but she was right to put the pressure on the field to get that run. And that's, again, the sort of the amount of stair miles that she's getting. As Darlow comes in, her right arm over and chips it over the bowler. There is a fielder who's going to cut that off. We've got 1. Oh, and Stair Callis has gone for the 2. She was running to the danger end, but this is what they needed to have done a little bit earlier, really, isn't it, Freddie?
Yeah, Fro just went to the wrong end as well.
Yeah.
It could have caused a few problems, and in the end it did work its way up to the striker's end and the wicket-keeper. But, yeah, Derbyshire will be pleased with this, and you can just tell even, the fielders are quite happy to just wear a few of these balls. They're going to bounce up and sort of hit you where it hurts a few times, hit you on the thigh, hit you on the leg, but if you get in your body behind the ball, it's exactly what these Derbyshire fans have come in, and your coach and your teammates, is what they want to see, and it's making a difference here.
We have seen a commitment, don't we? As you say, 1 or 2 have fallen over and put their body behind the ball just to stop it. So that's 8 overs gone. Yorkshire are 48 for 1. Callis on 1 and Oliver on 18. But Callis showing some intent here in terms of running those 2s, which is fairly characteristic of the Dutch Dynamo.
So Noeline Davis then 1 run and the wicket of Georgie Boyce of her first over. As I say, we are the only county game on today, men's or women's. In the test match, Zach Crawley's just been dismissed. England 4 for 1 in the men's test. And yeah, this is the only other game, so plenty of people tuning in, I'm sure. As Noeline Davis will continue steaming in full and worked away to square leg.
Stay Callis rightfully puts her hands up there and went straight to the fielder, doesn't it? So there really wasn't a run there.
Yeah, it's strange as well because the previous meetings between these sides have always been impressed by Yorkshire's running in particular. I felt they did it really well. They put Derbyshire under pressure, but maybe it's a sign of the improvements to Derbyshire's fielding, as that has been smashed away through square leg this time, and Steer Callis has her first boundary.
Yeah, nice shot there. Smacked down across the carpet for 4. Sign of a player who's playing a lot of cricket.
Yeah, I mean that is the thing when you're in form and you go from ground to ground, game to game.
Yeah,
that's when you'll find your rewards. She absolutely creamed that. She winds up again. This time it's fielded well and throw comes straight back in. Callis was eyeing up the exact same result, but just a dot ball.
So Mark McCann says that Stair Callis describes herself as a workhorse, which it was a
understatement.
Yeah, it's a massive understatement. He also praises her ability to play spin, but she's going to play a bit of speed at the moment.
Yeah, it's Noeline Davis. And again, that's been drilled away through the covers. Just be a single.
Like you say, there's a very different between playing a lot of games and playing well in a lot of games, or the opposite, which would be, not a good place to be.
Yeah, the loan system interesting, as you say, Boyce coming in for Yorkshire, whereas someone like Winfield Hill is away with Essex, playing Tier 1 cricket and the Vitality Blast. Callis has been with Warwickshire, but, I love the fact she just wants to keep play as much as possible, and a bonus of international cricket, which certainly is one of the areas that will separate a team like Yorkshire and Derbyshire is that international experience, and Yorkshire do have it, even with the players, like Winfield Hill who are missing.
Yeah. We've still got, people like Beth Langston and previous England players and things as well in that lineup.
Rachel Slater.
Yeah, Maddie Ward with under-19 experience, etc.
Bit of rain coming down now as it's chipped out through the covers. Work for Kusa to do on the boundary. They looked to push for 2 and Oliver was off and away. And it's just, it's not a Boyce and Oliver thing, is it? It's now a Callis and Oliver thing too. It's just that miscommunication out in the middle.
It's almost like Oliver hasn't quite tuned in yet. Callis is saying, yes, she needs a drink, so maybe there is something else going on for Oliver.
Can do funny things.
Yeah, and let me tell you, yes, Edgbaston was very hot yesterday for the 2 Bears games, and it does send you a bit like, it sends me to do Lally anyway. I'm not good in the heat. So, so 9 overs done. Yorkshire 55 for 1. Having lost Boyce fairly early before she had a chance to really get going. As the umpires come together, a little chat.
Yeah, I think it's Gemma Rose, the leg spinner, who is going to come on. Yeah, good time for Oliver and Callis just to stop and have a drink and compose themselves. And 55 for 1. Again, Derbyshire will be pretty pleased with where they are in this game and the fact they are, restricting these 2 batters.
So, for anyone who hasn't seen much of Derbyshire this season, how are you characterising their season so far?
It's always going to be one of improvements and one that, can't just be judged against how they get on against Yorkshire. If they do get to finals day, this is very much a division they can finish second in. When you look at the league table, Derbyshire level with Northants. Now, Northants' next 2 games are both against Yorkshire, so that becomes very tough, whereas Derbyshire play bottom of the table. Worcestershire. So, the T20, as it say, it brings teams closer together, doesn't it? And Derbyshire already just today, for the fans who will have only seen them at the Co-op Central County grounds, this is such a massive improvement from their 50 over defeat to Yorkshire already. And I'm going to speak to John Dyson, head coach, in more detail later, but I think he can only be impressed. And they've got 2 wins to show for it as well, as the rain continues to come down. McDonald's has changed ends.
Left arm over.
Through mid-wicket.
Yeah, and Stair Callis gets, she thinks about a second, but they're just going to get the 1 there. So 1 more to the total. So Yorkshire went through that 50 milestone. They are now 56 for 1. Callis on 8, Oliver on 19. As you say, we can got a bit more of a view here. We've got there is rain coming down.
Quite lenient though in the T20s, often with this sort of weather.
Yeah, left arm over, bit of pace. Let's work down the leg side. You're going to get a single. That's going to be a leg bar, I think. Umpire White signals. Oh, a wide ball. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just not quite got her line right on a few occasions, and we know you're going to have a slippery ball. It's not going to help. But
like soap as the player handing the ball back to the bowler, just dries it as best they can on the shirt. McDonald wearing 54, running away from us. Left arm seam. Floated up and over as a full toss in the end. Callis takes underneath. It goes underneath the fielder. Callis takes advantage of that full toss. Smack down the ground, 4 runs.
Yeah, it probably was a ball that deserved 4, and Callis didn't quite nail it, but it just had enough power off her bat, and just a full bat face back down the ground, and Nolan Davis wasn't quite going to get there, and well, the umpire's having a little bit of a chat. I mean, there is rain around this afternoon, but you wouldn't think there's anywhere near. We're going to get a full game. You'd be shocked if we don't. It's just the humidity, really.
Yeah, it is very warm, as we've seen one of the players having to take a bit of a drinks break. But yes, that last ball, I think Callis her eyes must have lit up.
Yeah.
A full toss that she sent back past the bowler, and 4 more runs to the total. So Yorkshire are on 62 for 1. Callis on 12 of the 9 balls she's faced. Oliver on 19. So their partnership moves to 20. Ball, as you say, possibly getting a bit wet as the umpire has a quick look at it as it comes back from the boundary underneath us.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where that would have gone down under the media centre. Any more round to the left would have been out towards the car park, and then they often worry about the ball's condition if it's hit something.
Yeah. Callis squirts that backward of square, and they trot shy at the end that Callis is running to, but they do get a single. I think Callis running in hope there, then know what happened. Went straight to the fielder, and they obviously want to get Callis out because they've noticed, I think, that Oliver is really struggling with the heat potentially, and despite being the opposite end, a good thought really from the
it was a sort of boom,
fine leg.
Let's
try and get Callis out as another one floated into the air past Grace Banbury at square leg. They are going to cut that off. Just the single then, so Oliver gets a single. Score moves to 64 for 1.
Just looking around to the right, the ground staff are all poised, ready to jump into action if needed. The half cover is still sitting there, and but we continue, and the rain seems to have eased off a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's going to get. Let's hope it's going to brighten up. That's another floaty one, but it does manage to bounce sort of wide Yorker line as Callis works that into the offside to the fielder on the cover point boundary has to come in off that, and they get through for easy dog single.
She bowls to take wickets, McDonald, doesn't she? And she takes those risks, and I like that. And she will get hit down the ground. She can, go too full every now and then, but she tries to target the stumps as much as possible.
Yeah, it's left arm over. It looks like it should be fast seam, but it's kind of floaty because we're right behind it. She's getting some shape on the ball. The ball is worked underneath her to the long on fielder, and they just get the single. It's floaty, a bit of shape on it as well, and of course the run up she's coming from quite a wide angle, so she's getting a bit of bend on that as well as the end of the over. So the halfway stage, 10 overs gone. Yorkshire are 66 for 1. Callis on 14. Oliver on 21. So my next theory for you, Freddie, because I know that you're waiting with bated breath for my next theory, is the Jenkins formula. So I shall introduce you to that. So that's double plus 20. And it works for the women's game in the T20 and the 50 over. It doesn't work quite so well with the men's game because the arc of the innings tends to be a little bit different. But it's a useful yardstick that I use. So double plus 20, so 126, 132, 152. Is that right? Double plus 20? I'm not good at numbers. I'm looking at the scorers next to them.
Looks like we might be wandering off, or the bail has been placed Likely to one side. I mean, the rain is now coming down.
No,
Let's continue that theory while we wait.
Yeah. So
because does that factor in wickets as well?
No,
yeah, that's too complicated.
Ed Seaborn said to me, he said, no, doesn't matter about wickets. Well, and also, if you've seen Warwickshire Central Sparks bat a lot, everyone bats. So it doesn't really matter about the wickets. So it's a useful yardstick because then you can have some idea of whether they ought to be getting to the target that they could have got to, and also the sort of, back end of the innings they didn't do well or they did do well. So whatever double plus 20 is.
They say at the 50 over game, don't they? Say 30 and then you try and double that in the last 20 overs. But again, that can depend on wickets in hand.
And also, I think that theory is better for the men's game again. So 152, I reckon if Yorkshire were to carry on in their current vein, they ought to be aiming at least 152.
Yeah, well, when you look down the order, Amy Campbell hit 165 here. Normally Cup, she would just hit it to all parts, everywhere in the ground. So they have a lot of batting to come.
Yeah.
But for this Derbyshire side, they're playing the big guns effectively in Yorkshire. They are the underdogs. I think they'll take some heart from those first 10 overs.
I think they will. I think Yorkshire confused themselves a bit with the running and not sure when to take runs and things. And Derbyshire managed to put the squeeze on a bit, as you mentioned that your feeling is that their fielding has improved as the season's gone on, which is going to happen because they're getting more match practice. They're not getting as much match practice necessarily as the Tier 1 teams, but in as much as they are getting practice for Tier 2, and they're playing in Yorkshire a lot because of the way that the FA Cup T20 Vitality County Cup went. It gave them another chance to play against Yorkshire. But when you're playing good opposition, then that's inspiring. You're learning from them. You're watching what's going on, and you're able to measure yourself against those kind of teams, which is the beauty of that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and Yorkshire did lose. I think they lost the first game of the season in the
they did. Worcestershire.
Yeah, which it shows it can happen. And when you look at the 3 games between these two sides, Derbyshire second, certainly in the T20s as you can, if it's good periods or 1 or 2 good performances. If there's to be an upset, today feels like the day, as opposed to some of the ones that have gone before, and Derbyshire coming into it of 2 wins. And yeah, it's interesting because you look at the Northants, Derbyshire, Leicestershire, Worcestershire, all pretty well matched. Yorkshire are going to be in Tier 1 next season. They've got these international players. But as you say, you can make the case that this is really good to have them in this league, even if it's just for 1 year, because of how maybe that will benefit the other 4 sides. But I think the thing with Derbyshire was having to play Yorkshire so often earlier in the season at the start of this journey, quite difficult for a young side.
Yeah, and it's not being disheartened by that. It's remembering that it is a learning experience and taking what you can from that, playing against good sides and things. So we should explain that Yorkshire, they are effectively a paid professional side because Yorkshire will join Tier 1 automatically at the end of this season, regardless of how they get on, because they have fully paid professionals, whereas the other teams in that league and indeed the North and South divisions of Tier 2 are not paid. They are playing at weekends. They're playing in unpaid leave, so it's a difficult one to compare like with like. So you can't be comparing, for example, the Derbyshire women with the Derbyshire men, because the Derbyshire men are paid professionals and they are 2 different games as well. So that's the trap that people fall into, saying, well, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Well, because they are having to fit this in between being students or full-time employees or whatever. And they're doing well. Like you say, it does feel like there's a potential for an upset, because that first game again at Headingley, let's remember that Worcestershire beat Yorkshire in that first game. I think Yorkshire went into that thinking, well, we're paid professionals, we're playing against folks who aren't, this is going to be an easy one potentially, but and every team has its day, doesn't it? So but certainly sent shockwaves through the women's game to have Yorkshire beaten by Worcestershire. So yes, chance for we want an upset today, don't we? We want to see some excitement, and certainly Derbyshire have kept the lid on Yorkshire.
And that was the hard thing as well, starting with the 50 over tournament, and it was a very heavy. I think it was Yorkshire's biggest List A win. Their highest ever winning margin List A cricket. Yorkshire scored 381 for 6. Amy Campbell 165 and Olivia Thomas 63. And Derbyshire, their strategy, they went out and said, look, we're just going to bat as long as we can, bat our normal way. We're not chasing this down. And they were bowled out for 66 in 22.3 overs. And it was a really difficult day for them. And then they literally looked at the fixture schedule, and next up was going up to Harrogate for Yorkshire again in the T20 County Cup. And it was another big win for Yorkshire there. Lauren Winfield-Hill scored 88, and I think for Derbyshire now I think it's been really good for them that they had that Worcestershire game where they could bowl first on a good deck, bowl Worcestershire out, and basically their message was, look, we don't have to go and be silly and chase us down in 10 overs. We can take as long as we need, but just win the game, and that's exactly what they did. The rain is very light now, and I was going to suggest a couple of minutes ago about us taking a break, but the players are sort of lingering on the balcony, and the umpires are still having a chat with some of the ground staff. I feel
they're
like
still smiling, aren't they? They both have us smiling. So
and I feel like the second we take a break, they're going to walk back on, as is luck. But we may well go off for a couple of minutes just while we wait, if that works for you.
Well, I was just wondering, so what should I know about the women's football commentary that you do? You do lots of stuff.
Yeah, so I cover Arsenal Women for the Gooner fanzine, which is sort of a more traditional sort of Arsenal men's fanzine, if you like, and we've really sort of expanded the Arsenal Women coverage the last few years. And this season, for those who do follow a bit of the women's football, or I'd like to think follow any football, will know that Arsenal Women became champions of Europe, beat Barcelona over in Lisbon 4 weeks today. And I was lucky enough to go out there, and it's been really interesting because I've sort of seen what the Lionesses have done, the impact it's had on women's football, and sort of the resurgence really in England. And I think there's definitely people now on the cricket side who look at that and think we've missed out here, and maybe there's things we can learn from that in terms of getting these attendances, and I think maybe almost with these. The big domestic cricket restructuring, I think there maybe was looking at football a little bit as well. And look, independent teams as London City Lionesses have just gone up to the top tier, and they're not sort of part of a men's club, but every other club in the WSL, I think they're connected to Premier League clubs. Basically, they're reliant on that funding, and that's obviously means a lot for the fan base. And it's really proven that in any sport, people get behind the stories, and I think people really enjoy that about women's sport. I think we were talking off air about that earlier, but it's really interesting to me that I think there are definitely people who look at what's happened in women's football and said, look, as in cricket, we can learn from this.
Yeah, and the sport should be learning from each other, shouldn't they? But it is interesting with the women's football because it seems like nobody's really took much notice of women's football until the Lionesses won that. But it's been going on for years and years. They were banned for decades and decades from even playing on the major grounds and things. So yeah, there's all of that.
And there's similarities there, isn't there, between that and the cricket? Because, as we say, you've played for Derbyshire for, 7 years, and you've never played here. And when Ali Byrne was on with me, she said she never played at Old Trafford. She was at Banks for years. And at one point I mentioned about a coach, and she just laughed at me and said, well, that wasn't a thing. We never had a coach. And so, and what always interests me talking to former players is you sort of see how things have improved, how things there's still more work to go, but there's never that sort of jealousy or feeling that we missed out. You always know you are the people who sort of paved the way, and you look back on your career with that sort of fondness, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose that's very kind of you to say that, but I think it's, if we hadn't done what we'd done, they couldn't do what they've done, so I guess there's a sort of pride in that, really. And also, it was different times, it was different context. When I look back on, because when you said coach, you mean a person coach, or do you mean a
person coach?
Okay, yes. Well, either way, we wouldn't have had a coach with a driver. I mean, we wouldn't have had often we didn't have a coach. So yeah, those were new, and also, but because we didn't have those things, it was a different experience. When I played club cricket and county cricket, and often we would be travelling we're driving somewhere, we're staying overnight on the opposition's floor, and you have a very different experience when you've driven all the way to Cornwall to play Callington, or you've driven all the way to, I don't know, it feels like Scotland to play some of the, like Wakefield or wherever. You've travelled that far, or you've slept on people's floors, or you've shared lifts and things, and there's a very different camaraderie happens with those things. And also, it was a small community, so the Ali Burns and the so forth, we would see each other quite regularly, but across. But it was a different experience, and when I look at the experience of the generations above me, so some of the England players, people like Chris Watmoe and Lynn Thomas and so forth, they've got really strong bonds with their colleagues in other countries because they were travelling a long time. I mean, the early ones had to catch boats to get to Australia, for example, but I know Chris Watmoe and Lynn Thomas talk about long flights and things like that, but you are then reliant on your opposition billeting you, and it's a very different experience. But lifelong bonds are built with that. Although I think it was quite hard for Chris Watmoe and Lynn Thomas, who happened to be out in Australia for the Ashes over the winter, because I think that was quite a painful experience, being ragged by their former opposition players as we see the ground staff putting the stumps back in already.
Yes, Derbyshire coming back out, and like I said, we made the right choice, staying on, keep nattering away, and it's brought, well, not quite the sun out. The sun's trying its best. The clouds still overhead, and what's the time? 3:30. I think that is scheduled to be the worst of the rain, so I think we might be all right from now. And almost weird that it's happened exactly 10 overs through the first innings, so it was given them that little break. And what will the message be now in the Yorkshire changing room? Will it be, look, we've got some batting to come, put the foot down a little bit?
I think it would be hard to stop Stair Callis wanting to be positive anyway, and they'll want this sort of second half now, isn't it? Feels that was a sort of useful chance for a little moment from the coaches and get some fluid on board, because it is very warm out there. And then really set about the second half. I imagine that Yorkshire will want to put a decent total on here. 66, I think, they will feel disappointed at that. I think Derbyshire should be optimistic about that, but they will need to get, certainly Callis will, but they will need to get some wickets. But I think if they let Callis get in, as the Blaze found out yesterday with Callis playing for Warwickshire, the Bears, they really don't want Callis to get settled here, because she seems to have so much time on the ball when she's facing it to decide where she's going to send it.
Yeah, she's just started to get her eye in, hasn't she? And Oliver's still in 21 off 31. So at Harrogate, Yorkshire scored 205 for free. Winfield Hill 88. Campbell again, he just loves playing against Derbyshire, quite clearly 41. And then at Headingley in the Blast, Yorkshire chased down 104 in 12.4 overs. So quite clearly they can score quicker than this, but maybe, they're just allowing themselves to get in on this pitch. It's maybe not one where we've seen batters come in and be able to find the boundary straight away. And it's going to be Francesca Clark to come back on from the City end, which I think is my end.
It is.
So we'll continue on. Hard to remember after the rain. The rain.
We've been to football, we've been to Australia, we've been back again.
I can see a Derbyshire county flag up behind Clark as well. It's the left of that black tarpaulin.
The side screen, spectators and all. It's Grace Banbury Lock waving to us. The scorers are in the box next to us, so I don't think she's waving at us, Freddie. Just
reminding them we're out playing in case they're off somewhere else. They're firmly in position and ready to go again. As Clark then got 2 overs for just 9 runs, opening the bowling, and she'll concede 1 there as long on runs round to do the fielding. Francesca Clark, both her and Lara Shaw play for Loughborough University.
Right. As you mentioned, she got that 3 for 14 against Worcestershire. And she had the best economy against Northants, although she didn't get a wicket. So.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. She bowled really, really well to put the pressure on the top order. Chopped away, no run again, and put a good shift in that game. And because Derbyshire, I think through the middle overs against Northants, I think there were 8 overs in which they didn't score a boundary, and they had a really good power play. Going back on my notes, they were 48 for 1 after the power play, and after 15, they were 96 for 5. So they had a bit of a middle overs collapse, and then scored a couple of boundaries at the end of the innings, as that's cut away beautifully for 4 for Steer Callis, who's starting to get moving. And these middle overs here in Derby are going to be really key now for setting up the rest of this game.
We were also talking about the fact that sometimes statistics don't really show, and that would be one, wouldn't it? Where, as you said, Clark's figures, best economy but no wickets, but he's doing well here. It is warm here at the Central Co-op County Ground out there, so I kind of felt like a good time for a break, exactly at the end of the 10th over.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think they'll have minded it too much. Either side, I think, probably would have felt, yeah, that's okay, as that's again well taken behind the stumps. Clark beating the bat of Steer Callis. There's also an element from a Derbyshire point of view. I mean, it's probably easier to do your research when you're playing a team like Yorkshire and you've got these players who've played in front of cameras, around the world for the last few years. But when you have played a team 3 times, you don't half get to know them. And you get that feeling now as Callis turns for the scoop and misses out again. And, Derbyshire Navy will feel, actually, we've played 3 games against this side. We've lost all 3, but you're going to learn a fair bit along the way.
Yeah, and perhaps work out some funky movements as they bring in a fine leg here on the 45.
Clark again, more conventional this time by Callis, but that's 3 balls in a row where Clark has beaten the bat, and she's obviously doing a little, maybe finding something off the pitch, but again, she's been really, really effective. Not necessarily the wicket taker, but certainly stemming the flow. Excellent end to the over.
Keeping Pittman interested. She's thinking, I might get a catch behind here or something.
Just 5 off it, including the boundary. Yorkshire 71 for 1, with plenty of batting still to come, as we mentioned.
Yep. Andrews to come on from this end for a change, I think, by the look of it. Number 15. Change of bowler.
Yeah, indeed.
As the umpire White signals left arm around the wicket. Change of bowler. Yorkshire 71 for 1. About to start the 12th over here at the Central Co-op County Ground. Forward plays that to long on. Just get through for a quick single.
Interesting passage now, because it feels like Amelia Oliver, 23 of 33, she needs to get going here. Once you get tick down towards those death overs, you want your batters in who can swing freely and find the ropes a bit easier than she has been. And, Callis is going to put her foot down and get going, but just wonder where Oliver's going to turn to here.
Yeah. Callis to face this time. Andrews comes around the wicket. Always a big wind-up past the fielder. She's going to go for 4. It is another boundary to Callis, who feels like she's properly getting settled here as Yorkshire move to 76 for 1 and Callis 22 off the 17 ball she's faced. Oliver has struggled a little bit, we think, with the heat, and she's on 23 off the 33 she's faced, but Callis certainly feels like the aggressor here. I think, I'm glad we're still having some sound problems. I'm getting feedback to say that it's sounding a bit tinny. Thanks to well, I think thank you. Thank you to
unless there's no
my
sound
mate
issues,
Sarah. I mean, if you can hear us, hopefully they're going to be sorting that out as Callis plays that backward square. It's through a gap. There's going to be a chase on. It may well stop up in the field, so they're going to have to run these as it does. They get through for 2, and Callis indicates just the 2 then. 2 more to the total. 78 for 1.
Interested now is if Adriana Darlow continues with Clark and bowls her out. She's got 1 over left because the wicket of Callis would be so big and Clark was beating the bat there. If you bring her back on.
Callis takes a big one, goes up and over the field. It's going to drop between the 25-yard circle and the rope for the boundary. And just get the 1. Went up in the air for a long while and then just plugged and then just jogged through for another one. 79 for 1 are Yorkshire here, who won the toss and elected the bat. As Andrews sends out her square leg to deep square leg boundary, and they bring in the long off to mid off. Oliver this time, big wind up, straight to the field, that's a catch! And she's gone. She has never looked really settled, has she, Oliver? So Oliver goes for 23 off the 33 balls she's faced. It just sort of felt a bit inevitable there, Freddie.
Yeah, well, like I said literally a couple of minutes ago, it's going to be a bit of a stick or twist for Oliver with the batting to come, and that puts pressure on you. You know, when you're at the strike rate she's at, and knowing the batting that's in the shed still to come, I think she knew she probably had to hit out or get out there, and it was the latter, a simple catch in the end, and Derbyshire will be delighted. The captain taking the catch, and 79 for 2.
So catch at short mid-wicket there, straight to her. Fairly simple one there. I don't think that will have really troubled her too much, and it just felt like, yes, it felt a little bit inevitable there as we see the batter come to the crease. So Yorkshire are 79 for 2, having lost Oliver and Boyce. Boyce fairly early on, and Oliver just in that last delivery as Derbyshire go back to their fielding positions, and the new batter settles themselves in. Lovely red shoes there.
Yeah, Maddie Ward.
Maddie Ward. So this is the captain for Yorkshire in the absence of Lauren Winfield-Hill. Maddie Ward defends that into, there's a big gap there at mid-wicket, now they've taken that fielder out. Just the one, but gets off the mark nevertheless, wearing 19 on her back, blonde ponytail and those vivid red shoes. That's the end of the over, so 12 overs gone. Yorkshire are 80 for 2, Callis on 25, Ward off the mark and pinching the strike at the end of the last over.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about Shubman Gill's black socks and the controversy they've caused in the test match, and apparently he could be in line for a fine from the ICC because he has to wear white with the whites. People saying it's very village, but those are some very bright red shoes.
They are bright red shoes.
Yeah, I think there's a spot, you know, particularly in T20 cricket for a bit of flair, and it always helps us commentators as well.
Yes.
As Kevin McDonald, who has 2 overs left, goes back to the City end.
Yes, and Lauren Winfield-Hill, who, as we said, has gone to Essex for the Vitality Blast on loan. She's usually one with some bright shoes, so if Yorkshire have still got the bright shoes in the locker.
McDonald over the wicket, play back to her, and just gets in the way of it, thrusts the 2 hands out, and the reaction time always tested there as a bowler. Like I say, Derbyshire, you know, they've not been afraid to put their body in harm's way today, and on this outfield where it's not always particularly true, and we've seen balls hold up, we've seen balls sort of bobble up to the fielders, and they've certainly done well with their fielding, but really interesting period in the game now as McDonald continues. Another watchful start. We've certainly seen batters allow themselves, they've given themselves the time to sort of get in to their innings. They haven't been all guns blazing from ball 1.
Yes, McDonald's been picking up wickets. We were admiring when she came from this end, didn't she, earlier? And yeah, we're admiring that sort of the air that she puts in. It's floaty seam bowling.
Yeah, trying to shape the ball back in to the right-hander. She looks to do there. Played out through mid-wicket. Could be 2 here. Fielder coming around to do the fielding. The misfield will allow a couple. Good throw back in, and McDonald there at the non-strikers couldn't dislodge the bails anyway. Some good running there, and Yorkshire do need to do that. We've spoken about they need to turn a few of these 1s into 2s. Some of the miscommunications at this stage in the innings as well to push that run rate forward.
Yeah.
Just one fielder back on the offside for protection for the left armour. Can she beat mid-off? She can, and that will be the first boundary for Maddie Ward, who's done a bit of everything this season, wicket-keeping, batting and spin bowling as well.
Yes, I gather that they've kind of discovered that she can do a bit of off spin.
3 for 5 from 5 overs against Sussex in the one-day cup earlier this season. So,
but I suppose when you've got Lauren Winfield-Hill as captain and she's going to keep wicket, if you're also a wicket keeper, you think, well, maybe I need to dust off my off spin skills. But yes, it looks like Maddie Ward's come out with some intent now. It didn't feel like any kind of sync with the previous partnerships that we've had here for Yorkshire.
McDonald then has been a touch on the expensive side, got a few extras, but the umpire deciding that's not going to be one of them. Going for that wide line again. But like I say, she is, that bowler who looks to take wickets, and that can come of being the expensive side. You compare that to a Clark who looks to just bowl those dot balls. Will try and get batters out, but at the same time, almost how they do it is by pinning them back. Whereas McDonald is going to be brave, bowling full and swinging the ball back in. That's almost a chance in the offside and fielded down at the shins of mid-off. And the end of McDonald's third over. Yorkshire are 87 for 2.
It's a tempting bowling action, isn't it, from McDonald? Because it's almost like, come on then, hit me on the full. Or wait to see what it's going to do after it dips and comes back in at you. So it's an interesting bowling action.
If Gemma Rose comes on as well, she certainly has that in terms of giving a leg spinner who tosses the ball up, gives it a load of flight and sort of gets wickets from almost getting caught in the deep, some of those miscued shots. But Derbyshire haven't looked to use her yet. It'll be interesting to see how she goes at the death if she is required. Just the 5 bowlers used so far, and it's going to be the captain Darlow who's gone for 16 for 2.
Okay, Darlow just adjusting the field a little. She's bringing in her long off to mid off, sending the square leg back out again to the rope. Darlow then towel tucked in the back of her trousers. That's worked into the leg side. There is a gap there, so they should be able to get through. They think about a second, decide against it. So just one more to the total. Yorkshire 88 for 2, Callis on 25, Ward on 9, but certainly a feeling like they're about to wind this up now. What can Darlow do in captaincy in terms of what's going to happen next? She's bringing that square leg, deep square leg into the ring, sending the mid off to long off again. Callis works that into the leg side. Fielder comes off the rope. They get through for 1. Think about a second. Dare each other almost and then decide against it. Another one to the total. 89 for 2. Our Yorkshire won the toss and decided to bat, so they put themselves into bat here. Ward to face in those bright red shoes. It's not Kansas now. Oh, straight through to the appearance given. She's caught behind. So we said that Pittman might well be interested here, and it's caught behind off the captain's bowling. And Ward goes for 9 off the 8 balls that she's faced and won 4. So, yes. What do you reckon to that then, Freddie?
Yeah, well, I've said she's very good behind the stumps. There's yet another catch for Megan Pittman with the gloves on. 1 wicket keeper removing another. And Darlow, she's got a lovely action, hasn't she, for the off spinner, and she just seems to cause problems. She's going to get some nice drift on the ball, always sort of quite a similar. She doesn't vary the flight that much, but really nicely bowled, taken behind the stumps. And Yorkshire 89 for 3. But if that's Amy Campbell to the crease, things just again don't get any easier for this Derbyshire attack. But wickets. And again, Derbyshire, this is certainly their best performance so far of the season, without wishing to speak too soon, against this opposition. And they've played them a fair bit.
Yeah, when we had a slight rain delay, we were musing about whether this was a day for an upset. So the Derbyshire fans will be hoping that happens. However, having got Maddie Warder, the captain and wicketkeeper, they now will face Amy Campbell, who has been in a bit of a mood for batting this season. And it's a player that I know well from her Central Sparks days. She's from the North East originally, isn't she? And has returned to play for Yorkshire. Left-handed bat, likes the big drives.
Yeah, against the off spinner. So I think this is Yorkshire's first left-hander. This will be really good, this matchup.
Yeah, right arm around the wicket to Amy Campbell, who takes a few steps and puts that underneath the cover fielder. There is cover behind to get through for a single, but she's straight off the mark, is Amy Campbell. So that's Yorkshire moving towards those 3 figures. So on 90 for 3, Callis on 26, and Campbell, who I think this is going to be a key partnership for Yorkshire or Derbyshire to break. Which way round is it? Right arm over this time to Callis, who works that into the leg side. There is a fielder there, but it's got to cover some ground beyond the circle. They think about a second and then think against it.
Yeah, Yorkshire's still on for a good score here. Make no mistake, Derbyshire are going to have to bat very, very well to chase it down, and with the batting to come. But how a good performance in the field can then lend itself to, a boost to the opening batters. But I just think the death overs.
Amy Campbell, several shots at that, up and over the ring. They get through for 1, they go for 2. It's fielded back in, and 2 more to the total. Edging further up, 93 for 3, and that's the end of the 14th over. Callis on 27, Campbell on 3. Of course, yes, we mentioned that big score of Amy Campbell's against Derbyshire, 165 not out. Ooh, that's some total to have got against Derbyshire. So Derbyshire won't want to watch Amy Campbell bat for long.
And that was one of those innings where she just went through the gears. She sort of got her way in, settled in, knocked the ball around, picked up a few boundaries, and then the final 5 overs, she just went absolutely berserk, hitting it to all parts, particularly sort of down the ground, sort of just clearing long on time and time again. And Derbyshire just had no answers to her. And as I wondered a couple of overs ago, Clark is going to bowl out, and there they see her as the wicket-taking option. This is the partnership that needs to be broken. So in she comes, sun shining now, full delivery, back to the bowlers, almost deflected onto the stumps at the non-strikers ended. I don't know if Clark got a touch in it. It looked like she might have done. It'd just be a single.
I think she might have got a boot on that, and that would have been, I don't know if it was intentional, but it would have been a great wicket to have taken, because I don't suppose Callis is out of her ground there. Yeah, sure. I mean, it would have been close.
Yeah, we had one of those in the men's game, funnily enough, last night. Ben Aitchison just got a tiny bit of his hand on it, and they do happen.
Sometimes it's advertent, sometimes it's accidental, but when it's coming back past you at speed, it's
painful as well.
Yes,
it comes at a loss for the bowler.
Painful wicket.
Clark to Campbell, big match-up this. That is back to the bowler, who fields well. And also, it's Yorkshire recognising now that if Clark is the person who can break this partnership, actually, get through this over, stay in, you've got 5 left, you've built a platform, and then you can go from there. Clark then, 3rd ball of the over, which is 15 so far, but you can add 6 to that. Yes, you can, just landing before the hover cover, and Campbell, the first sign of what she can do, first 6 of the innings.
Tempting the fielder there, was on the rope, and I think probably felt quite hopeful for a while, and then it just sailed over her head, and possibly also over the hover cover, because it seems to have disappeared. So we got a couple of fielders looking for the ball, and we've found it.
Kuz has found it. That is what Campbell can do once she gets it.
Frustrating for Kuz, because let's say I think she thought she was in it there, as everybody held their breath as the ball goes in the arc in the direction of the fielder, but then very much over her head as she motions the goalkeeper style, as though she would have done it. It had been just a little bit less.
The flag that's on the pavilion no longer billowing, it's flat, so suggests the wind not quite up as much as it was earlier. That's driven away through extra cover, and that's 4 more to Amy Campbell, and this will bring, the 6 brought 100 up. Yorkshire now 104 for 3, and Campbell is starting to go, and Derbyshire's players know exactly what she can do.
She was very destructive for Central Sparks. Often referred to her as the sort of engine room of that Sparks batting line-up. Left-handed also makes it more awkward.
Clark again, Campbell again down to mid-off, who will get something on it, and just a single.
You mentioned about bodies on the line and all the rest of it, and they're picking up bruises. They're going to be battered and bruised.
Yeah, fielder there, can't quite see who it is, but just holding her shoulder. Ella Porter now running. She's running off freely now, but she was just holding her shoulder for a moment in the bright yellow sunglasses on her head.
Bruise.
Final ball of Clark's spell, going for 26, and the attempted scoop, I think it's beaten everyone. And Clark's got a smile on her face. It's 4 byes, and the umpire signals up to the scorers to our right, so an expensive over. In the end, Yorkshire 109 for 3.
Yes, Derbyshire will not want to let Campbell and Callis loose here, because already Campbell 14 off the 6 balls she's faced. Callis slowing slightly, 28 off the 23, but still ahead of that strike rate. 109 for 3 with 5 remaining, so that's got 30 balls.
Well, they've only had one successful run chase in T20 cricket. That was 118 at Northampton. This is going to be a fair few more than that, you would imagine. McDonald will bowl out.
Yeah, and also with that damp, we've seen that it's held the ball up a little bit. It's quite a big bounce. It feels from where we're sat like it's got a big boundary, and then we've seen one or two sort of shots that have been played beyond the 25-yard circle, and it's sort of slowed up. They've then had to run them. We saw a 3-run earlier, which would be very exciting to the scorers. And yes, so we've got McDonald. She seems to have been bowling both ends. McDonald, come on, from the racecourse end.
Yeah, she has. She's been up and down.
I think she's been bowling alternate overs or something. This time to Amy Campbell, left-handed. Awaits, comes forward, plays it up in the air, but up and over the fielder. There is going to be some cutting off to do, which is done neatly in the outfield, and they get through for 2.
Yeah, I think so.
2, yeah. 2 more to the total, so they've gone through that 100 berry. We're now on Nelson, 1-1-1 for 3. Will Nelson strike here? Derbyshire will hope that it does. Amy Campbell. Locked and loaded. Played out through the off, but hits the point fielder, and there is no run.
Callis, a very eager runner, isn't she? She's halfway down there. There's like a competition.
We were discussing this. I was having a chat with Hannah Baker's mum, and she covers the ground. I don't know if she's got long legs, but she seems to cover the ground in big loping strides when she's running between us. Campbell comes forward and smacks that to long up on, and there's just the one. It was a big old strike, a big old heave down the ground. And there was obviously a fielder we can't see in the corner there who's cut that off quite neatly, and they only get one. So Yorkshire will be off Nelson now, on to 113 for 3, losing Boyce early doors. And then Oliver. And then Ward as McDonald to continue. She's going to go over the wicket to Callis, who goes into the offside, plays that 2-point, but underneath the fielder. So another 4 runs to Stair Callis. It looked like it was going to be given a wide if she'd left it, but she decided that I'm going to take 4 runs there, thanks very much.
Yeah, and you can't blame her. It's
tough, easy pickings.
Yeah, tough one for the fielder, but short and wide, and maybe that's where McDonald's been found guilty, just bowling that wide line a little bit too often. And actually, her best ball is the one that's sort of fuller and swinging back in, but she'll be under pressure now. 116
for 3 as McDonald comes in again. Oh, the Callis goes to play something funky, and then there's shouting from everybody, all directions. And the umpire is unmoved.
Been a few of those shots, and I don't think any of them have connected so far.
I think Callis just feels like she should put something funky in every now and again. She's been jumping across. She's decided that she's going. There's a big gap here in this onside, leg side here. So can she make the most of that? Oh, and she's bowled. That's a great bit of cunning there from McDonald after she let Callis get that shot through point, and watching her move about laterally in the crease, and then she steps too far to the leg side and gets clean bowled. It's a sort of disappointing end to what could have been a really quite funky innings, I think, from Stair Callis. But yeah, she's certainly getting her steer miles in.
Yeah, she is. But
Callis, but yeah.
To do, and back to the dugout now, because like I say, McDonald's best ball, full and straight, and that's where she went back to for the final ball of her allocation. And yeah, it's a big wicket just to push Yorkshire back again. And Callis, who scored some nice boundaries in that knock, but it feels like it's over to Amy Campbell now. This is the player who can just take the game away from Derbyshire.
Yeah, so Callis finishes on 32 off 26 balls, and McDonald's 4 overs, no maidens, 37 runs for that very key wicket, I think, for Derbyshire. If they certainly needed to break that partnership between Callis and Campbell.
Here's then Darlow to Campbell. The off spinner again to the left-hander, long on and long off on the rope. And long off will be called across to run around and do the fielding here. There'll be 2 off the misfield, and the 2 batters in alive to that. Duckworth is the new player, number 18.
Yep.
Played for both Lancs and Northern Diamonds from Preston and in Lancashire.
And so is the Pennines.
Yeah, Campbell to face up. Does seem to happen a fair bit.
Yeah.
And this could be a chance that it's going to fall short of a long on, 1 bounce, and Duckworth will come on strike.
Duckworth got that 51 against Staffordshire in the County Cup. So what's she got for Derbyshire?
Yeah, played for senior cricket for Cumbria as well. Went to university at Liverpool, John Moores, and then Manchester Met for a Masters. So
Right. Glutton for punishment.
absolutely. Tapped away. Forward of point, field of running around. Again, there's 2 there. There's a little bit of hesitancy, and the throw just evades the wicket keeper. And that's what I mean about sort of running off the misfield has almost caused them more problems than actually the more solid bits of fielding. They just really don't, because the old phrase is never run off the misfield, but there's actually been quite a few where they can and they'd have been fine. But
Yeah,
they
the
really don't,
decision-making
they don't really seem to want to tempt fate whatsoever.
Decision making seems to be a bit haywire for Yorkshire, which Derbyshire will be happy for them to continue to do.
Here is Darlow then, the skipper, against Duckworth. No run there, fielding done close in by number 55.
Darlow electing for a short third on the ring there as well, having moved the field last ball.
Darlow again. Chance and taken! Excellent catch. Again by Harriet Parkin, and Duckworth is gone. The procession continues. Amy Campbell still there at the non-striker's end, but Duckworth comes and goes.
There's a good catch at point there. I mean, it was dipping on it, right on the ring. Good catch, and hands well and truly wrapped around the ball, body rolling to make sure that that the ball stays in her hands.
Yeah, very nicely done.
Nice roll. Well done with the camera guys. That's a really nice shot there.
Yeah, be delighted there, Parkin, who's not the role to play with the ball so far. Interesting how Derbyshire have stuck to just these 5 bowlers, because they do have Gemma Rose and Harriet Parkin available, but they're obviously happy enough with how these 5 are doing, and keep chipping away. 121 for 5. Final ball of Darlow's spell. Thackrell in.
Yep.
Instead of Olivia Thomas, who also scored runs here in the 50-over game. That's played away through the covers. Thackrell off the mark. They're going to push for 2 once again. Throw comes into the wicketkeeper, just didn't quite have the pace, and the stumps were dislodged anyway, so not quite sure how. And Darlow then finishes with 2 wickets for 29 runs off her 4 overs.
Of course, these 2 players, I also know Rhea Thackrell from her Central Sparks days, so they will have batted and trained together. Previous regional structure, both being from the West Midlands regional team. I'm pretty sure that they played together, though Campbell came a little bit later.
Yeah, 6 wickets against Derbyshire for Thackrell in the T20s. Against Derbyshire, 8 in total, so she enjoys, as a few of these Yorkshire players do, enjoy facing the Falcons. But 3 overs remaining here. What can Yorkshire get up to?
Yep. Right arm over, a bit more pace this time to Amy Campbell. Plays that 2 cover. Fielder picks it up, but there's enough time between the thump and the pickup to get that single. Noeling Davis from the racecourse end. Tall, strong figure into Rhea Thackrell. Got 100 versus Scotland, says Michael McCann. So Thackrell's got a big score recently as that's played through cover. There is a fielder there. Is it going to get these? Who cuts that off? They get through for 2. Rhea Thackrell on 77. She runs away from us towards the batting end. 2 more to the total. Yorkshire 126 for 5. Thackrell on 4. Campbell on 21 off the 12 balls she's faced.
Just looking to get Campbell on strike as much as possible at the minute, because she's got in quickly as well.
Nolan Davis, and again, Fackrell plays that to cover. There's a big shout, but there's no run. So lots of noise, but no run. 126 for 5 still.
Interesting as well, in terms of a lot of one-over spells that Derbyshire have used. So at Northants, there are 2 bowlers bowled with their full allocation all the way through the middle, 8 overs between them.
Yeah, Fackrell plays that into the leg side. There is a gap there. Fielder coming off the rope. They turn, they think about a second, and there's a half a rounder for Amy Campbell there.
Come off the batter, and that's running away.
Yeah.
And fair play, they're not going to run again. We can have no Ben Stokes World Cup final over because it's not going to the boundary.
No, better not do that. Yes, spirit of cricket and all that.
But yeah, the one-over spells, and they seem to have worked effectively.
We've seen it at various levels. I mean, even at the international level, Sophie Devine from New Zealand, she likes to keep changing the bowlers over. And I suppose there's that sense that the batter, particularly during the power plays, the batters are not getting settled then. They're not getting used to a bowler's line and length. So there's definitely a strategy there, isn't there, as Nolan Davis prepares to come again. Right arm over to the left-handed Amy Campbell, who shuffles forward, plays that down through long off. That's another 4 runs. So 4 runs to Amy Campbell, who seems to have an absolute age to play that shot into the leg side.
It's a real feature of her batting is how she uses her feet. She's just so keen to come down the track and use her feet. And yeah, she was almost wandering to the leg side, and then the ball was a little wider, and she still managed to drag it from outside off stump to bisect those 2 fielders.
Almost tennis backhand style as Nolan Davis comes in again. Campbell comes forward again, slices that, but down to, this time, along off. Fielder comes in off the rope. They get a single again. Starting to feel the bat on the ball as Amy Campbell. It's the end of the over. So 18 overs gone, 2 more overs to go. Yorkshire 132 for 5. Fackrell on 5, Campbell on 26. 2 more overs, so that's 12 balls. What did I say?
I was just going to ask, because 150 seems on.
100,
well, I can tell you the halfway mark, it was 66 for 1.
Okay, so 66 times 2 plus 20, I think it was 152.
You might be spot, so they need 10 over for the final 2. And,
what can they bring up?
Well, has it got
it's a Jenkins formula. Yeah. That's my copyright.
And
it's a fun thing to, because you always get asked, don't you, as a pundit, what they're going to get to. And say, well,
and no one wants to do maths when they've been asked that question. Well, they just want to talk about cricket.
If you knew me better, Freddie, you'd know that I don't do numbers at all.
No, myself, exactly the same. Andrews is in. This is down the ground between long on and long off on bounce, and over the Vitality advertisement board for 4.
I've got some mountaineering to do to get over the ad boards to get the ball back.
Campbell 30 off 15 already, which tells you that's a very, very strong strike rate. And just as she did in the 50-over game here, she's going to be the player who looks to take Yorkshire on and finish this innings off in style. Andrews again, Campbell comes down the track. This is very, very similar to how it transpired last time. And she just looks to use her feet every single ball.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, actually. She does, and I think she really wanted to do the same thing again with that ball. Couldn't quite get underneath that one, did she? And then she just managed to sort of toe end it, but down the ground for 1 that time instead of that 4 up and over into the sight screen. There's some changes in the field. They're sending the leg side out, bringing the offside up to the ring.
Yeah, Andrews will come round the wicket to Fackrell, who's 5 or 4. Down the pitch again, and fielder at long on will come round. They'll look for 2. Quick throw back in, and the stumps are removed. I don't know if that was a sort of a hand onto the stumps, or if she deflected the ball on. It wasn't a clean pickup anyway, and the umpire had a decision to make. We'll have a look at the replay, hopefully, before the next ball, if that will come up on screen as Andrews prepares herself again. Yeah, she did just deflate it onto the stumps. I'd like to see that slowed down if they have the capabilities over in the next room. But in the meantime, Fackrell comes down the pitch. The fielder coming round, and it's been dropped over the boundary for 4 runs. That was a chance out there for Lara Shaw, and Fackrell moves along to 11, and you can probably class that as a drop catch.
Close to deflecting that over for a 6 there on the boundary, the far end from us.
Looked like she almost did.
Yeah.
Andrews then 2 balls left of the 19th over. And
he's gonna
midfield there. In fact, we'll be able to get through in the end. And you just worry now, sort of one mistake in the field then can lead to another. And
pressure on Derbyshire field here, isn't it? Definitely. Because actually it felt like there was sacrifice going on there, but Derbyshire allowed them enough time to get back to their respective ends.
Drama in this over. Every ball has been an event. Final ball of Andrews' spell, and the 19th over has been slog swept out into the onside. That's a really nice connection again from Amy Campbell, who is just very good fun to watch, whoever you're supporting, and she moves along to 35. Yorkshire after 19, 148 for 5. So how many do they need to fulfil your prediction?
They need 4 more.
Just 4, so they might overdo it.
They might. But it's a fun sort of yardstick really to use in terms of how the 2 halves of the innings go in terms of the trajectory of those things. So yes, getting close, aren't we?
Yeah, Yorkshire scored 40 off the last 4 overs.
They didn't even believe me for Durham. Ash thought he was like, no, they're never going to. It was like because Durham did well in the game against the Blaze, they got 180 odd, which was a huge total for them. And then bloody Blaze went in, of course, and then hit the runs, but the biggest run chasing domestic T20 cricket, blah blah blah. But yeah, I was almost spot on with that one as Nolan Davis comes in again. Fackrell shapes forward past the bowler, and the umpire even has to take evasive action. That's 4. So we are already up to my prediction of 152 for 5. Our Yorkshires, that's belted back past the bowler and the umpire as they both take cover from this straight drive from Rhea Fackrell. Nolan Davis does take tries to catch it as it goes past as she comes in again to Fackrell. Shapes to the offside, hits it into the leg side. It's in a gap. I think it's going to bounce, yes, in front of the fielder. They're going to have to keep scampering here, and they get through for 2, so that's 2 more to the total for Yorkshire. Fackrell moving on quite neatly here to 18 off the 9 balls she's faced. Yorkshire 154 for 5. Campbell on 35. Nolan Davis deciding where she wants her field. Fackrell taking a little breather, tapping her bat. Shapes to go the other side. Flips it to cover. They take a run, but the fielding isn't quite fast enough to affect the run out there. They just get an easy single. 155 for 5. There's a movement in the fields. Nolan Davis moving the cover fielder into short mid-wicket. Oh no, cover for the left-hander, beg your pardon. So into cover, Nolan Davis to the left-handed Amy Campbell. Ooh, shapes to do something funky and nearly gets out of the way for a clean bowl, but Q ends it instead. No run.
Now, it's one of my favourite shots, but it's just not worked today.
No.
Still the batters have sort
see
of
what
gone
she's
to
trying
it.
to do.
Yeah.
Well, and also there is a fielder there at fine leg on the 45, so it's sort of a bit risky biscuit there as Nolan Davis comes in again. Campbell comes forward, swipes at that, but only gets half of it. There is a fielder who's going to have to come round.
That's 4.
4 runs.
It's gone between the 2 of them. She's just hit it well enough, and she didn't seem to middle it as well. But both fielders, almost a risk they could just collide into each other, and it just went between them in the end. She just picks the cap so well. She's done that a couple of times. Those fielders are maybe 20 yards apart, and they were running, and they may have been only a couple of yards in the end, and it still got between them.
Yeah. Campbell on strike. Smacks a full toss straight back down the ground. That's going to be 4 runs, I think. Yeah, I hear it from the media centre below us. So I'm guessing that wasn't cut off. So there we are then. So the end of the final over. 20 overs gone. Yorkshire 163 for 5. Fackrell on 19 off 10 she's faced. Campbell on 43 off 20 she's faced. Partnership almost at 50 there. 42 runs there off 19 balls for that last partnership there. And the bowling figures then. So Clark, they all bowled out so quite neatly. Clark 4 overs, 26 runs, no wickets. Andrews 4 overs, 33 for 1. Darlow again 4 overs, 29 for 2. McDonald, 37 for 1 off her 4, and Nolan Davis, 32 for 1 off her 4 overs. So we got the 20 overs in so far, so let's hope the weather's going to hold for that. What do you reckon to that then,
Yeah, without cursing it, the sun looks all right now. Look, Derbyshire are going to have to go a long way, to chase this down. The run rate is 8.2 and 164 needed. As I say, it's a whole lot bigger than their last week's run chase over Northants when they chased down 118. Well, sorry, they set 118 actually, and then bowled Northants out. So they haven't actually chased down to win. They did in Worcester, didn't they? Sorry, but that was a low scorer.
Low scorer,
nowhere near what this was. So yeah, they're going to have to go a long way. But you've got to say, Derbyshire, they are the underdogs. They are in with a chance here.
There's a chance. It's a big total, isn't it? And it's beyond what they set themselves, if you believe in Jenkins' formula, at the halfway stage. It's going to be a big total. They're going to need to get their feet in, but yes, it's a challenge. I mean, we said when we had the rain delay, is this the day for a big upset? Because this would be a big upset if Derbyshire can chase this down. But Yorkshire were really wobbly at the beginning. They really felt like they were on completely different wavelengths. Several sets of batting partners seemed to be really not really synced at all. Took them a while, and then of course Campbell came in and started smacking the ball around, and we saw some. It looked like Callis was going to be in for a big score, and then she gets caught, and it's a tantalising one, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Yorkshire hit 66 off the first 60 balls and then 93 off the next 60. So, in terms of going through the gears, they just have the experience to do that well. But certainly Derbyshire, in the field will take a lot of heart about that, because, they've been up against it in their games against Yorkshire. They will be again. Should we take a short break?
Yeah.
And then we'll be back for the second innings to see if Derbyshire can make a game of it and try and chase down 164. Welcome back to the Central Co-op County Ground, where Derbyshire Falcons women will require the best ever T20 run chase to enact their first win over the Yorkshire Vikings. They need 164 to win, largely in part thanks to Steer Callis and Amy Campbell. Campbell 43 in the end of 20 and not out. Callis 32 of 26. Boyce and Oliver scored 23 each at the top. Ward 9, Duckworth 2, and some useful runs at the end from Fackrell, who hit 19 of 10. An interesting innings overall, sort of had different phases, really, Claire Jenkins, and Derbyshire sort of kept chipping away at that experienced Yorkshire lineup.
Yeah, it did definitely go through phases, because it felt like the Yorkshire batters weren't tuned into each other and struggled to turn what should have been easy singles or misfields they should have run off, or didn't. They just didn't seem to have been well connected or well synced to start off with, and Derbyshire get that pressure on, and then there's, as you say, different phases, and then when you've got someone coming in at 5, Amy Campbell, 43 off 20 balls, including a 6 and 6 fours, that soon accumulates a decent score, doesn't it? And as you say, Fackrell coming in at the end with 19, but the others, smaller totals. But this is going to be a big one for Derbyshire to chase down. You were talking about how would you characterise? Would you say that Derbyshire are a better bowling side generally in terms? Was that your sort of take on it? So,
yeah, they quite have been relying on the top order. I mean, Jess Goose has scored some runs. Lara Shaw has hit a couple of big scores, big 50s in the one-day cup. I was just having a look at Yorkshire's wagon reel. Easy for me to say. So many runs coming straight down the ground between long on and long off. And we talked about the scoop shots that weren't working. Not a single run was scored sort of directly behind the wicket keeper. They weren't paying off. But yeah, a lot of joy just down the ground, and you do sort of get some of those straighter boundaries here at Derby. So 8.2 the required run rate, and if anyone can get them there, Lara Shaw and Jess Cooser are going to need a good start, because both of these two have been scoring runs this year. Shaw certainly, is an excellent striker of the ball, and Cooser has chipped in with sort of a lot of 20s and 30s this season, opening the batting, and you'll be opening the commentary because Yorkshire will start things off from the racecourse end.
And we talked a bit about Blaze. Lara Shaw, you mentioned, is on loan from Blaze to Derbyshire. So we shall see what Derbyshire can do with the bat in hand, as number 72, Rachel Slater, Scottish international, left arm over, banged in. It's gone up in the air. It's a tough edge, but there's a gap there. It's going to bounce. First 4. So Derbyshire get off the mark. Not necessarily prettily. The top edge for 4 through a very fine leg sort of area. Bouncing, tantalising the fielder, who had a lot of ground to cover and couldn't quite get to it. So 4 runs to Derbyshire as Rachel Slater kicks the end of her run up.
Yeah, they weren't one short to go early, but yeah, banging it in short. Not something you saw a lot of really from Derbyshire. Maybe this is where, in terms of Yorkshire, having those quicker bowlers, you can afford maybe to bang it in a little bit shorter and cause those problems.
Slater comes in again. That's sent to square leg. There's a gap there. It's bouncing in front of the fielders. They're covering each other, and the Derbyshire batters get through for 2. So 6 without loss. First over, 2 balls in. It's a good start for Derbyshire. Can they capitalise on this?
We did also have a look in the innings break at that run out where it was deflected by the bowler. I forget the bowler, but it was deflected onto the stumps, and it would have seen the end of Amy Campbell, maybe when she was on about 20, and it was out. It was given, not out.
Yeah. Hitch kick as Slater comes in, straight through to the wicket keeper. A big swipe from the batter underneath the bat there. She looks disconsolately and twiddles her bat and rehearses the shot that she should have played there to Rachel Slater's wide Yorker.
She's interesting, Shaw, because she's got excellent wrists, almost to make up for her lack of foot movement. She really sort of stays still in her crease.
She's on a very low stance there, her head very low. She stands upright to face the ball. Ooh, Another swipe. Not quite sure what was happening, I think. Not really judging the ball there. And that's another dot ball for Yorkshire.
A tiny trigger sort of over across her stumps, but very little sort of foot movement. As you say, low down. And
Low down,
seems a bit of a T20 thing. I look at Irene Donald on Derbyshire's men's side. He's quite like that as well. Sort of leans over his bat and...
I dare say though the coaches weren't like, she's focusing now and then she's got to refocus in a different place when she takes a stance higher up. So that's worked through covers. Having said that, it's probably working for her. But that's the corner that I can't see, but it looks like it's gone for 4 runs.
Yeah, like I say, quick wrists, and that's what will make up for the lack of the foot movement. The power you can then get through those wrists, and that was carved away through the offside.
It was. Derbyshire will like some more of that. So still the first over, and 10 without loss.
Have we had
there was some discussion about whether we're going to have a 7th ball.
I've got it down.
Okay.
Yeah, got it down as 5 balls.
Says is coming in again. Left arm over. Oh, and it's up in the air. It's going to be caught. Oh, it's caught. Caught by Amy Campbell. She had a lot of time, a lot of area to cover. That's what I was trying to say. Because the ball was spinned up in the air. We were looking at each other because we weren't quite sure how many balls that had gone in that over. But nevertheless, so that's caught Campbell.
Well, I was
the bowling
say,
of Slater.
If that's a mystery extra ball and Shaw's out, then I'm not quite sure what's happened.
The graphic on there is saying that it's the 6th ball of the over, so we shall see. Anyway, it was caught by Campbell, running to sort of short square. An easy catch in the end for Amy Campbell as Shaw trudges off.
Yeah, not happy Lara Shaw hit that lovely boundary just before, that she's a player who looks to go from ball 1.
And she's been getting some decent scores on the Metro rank, hasn't she? Looking at Kent 65 off 52, Gloucester 74 off 71, some 6s, top scoring, so that'll be a loss for Derbyshire. Tall figure, the next batter coming in.
Yeah, Megan Pittman, the wicketkeeper, in at 3.
Pittman, yeah.
And
Coos is the tall figure this end then.
It's going to be spin for Yorkshire. Still trying to work out what happened with that last over as well.
I think the graphics are just catching up maybe.
Yeah.
Let's say that. Second over then.
So it'll be gets Cooser on strike. 99, drags that out to mid-wicket, and there'll be no run.
Amy Campbell in the action there. I remember hearing her on a podcast saying she gets bored easily because she often fielded quite a long way out for the Central Sparks.
Claudie Cooper again, swept, and that's picked the gap. Just evades the square leg umpire. Stood there very casually, not phased at all, and Cooser off the mark with a boundary.
Good way to start.
Derbyshire above the required run rate for the moment.
Can we declare at this stage?
Which I also said after 2 overs the men's game last night, and that didn't quite go to plan. There's Cooper is in again, the experienced off spinner, and Cooser plays a straight bat into the offside, no run. Falcons 14 for 1.
You're listening to the voice of Freddie Cardy and Claire Jenkins on the Derbyshire live stream.
Cooper again. It was corrected. That was indeed a 6-ball first over. This is a slog sweep again out into the onside. Bounces up, and it's a goalkeeper-like save, and it's a good fielding in the end. I tell you, this outfield's got a few demons in it sometimes, and saves the boundary.
That was good there, wasn't it? 'Cause she had to respond to the fact that the bounce nearly took it over her head there.
Cooper, who also took the new ball against Leicestershire, took 2 for 14 last time out. Former Surrey off-spinner. Surrey and South East Stars, of course. She comes in again, driven out to the offside, not quite timed. Fielded at point. Throw again. The goalie's a lot of jumping and catching at the moment. Maddie Ward called into action.
Stretching each other. Some changing in the field here and moving Stair Callis more to conventional point position, bringing in a short third, I suspect, as Emmy Campbell comes into square leg and fine leg at the 45, all on the 25-yard dots.
Final ball of Cooper's over. Swept again, gets past the fielder, Georgie Boyce, and Falcons, after 2 overs, 17 for 1.
Intriguing start. Derbyshire will be happy with this. 17 for 1, 2 overs. But, not happy that they've lost a batter, but the run rate is okay, and it kind of doesn't matter how you get there.
Well, we found that out in the Worcestershire game.
Yeah.
But they will need to go a little bit quicker than in that one, chasing down 54. But yeah, a loss with Lara Shaw going, as you say, when she goes big, she can really score runs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's an interesting technique, isn't it? And one that the coaches, it's obviously worked for her coming up through the age group levels, and but how that maybe develops over the next few years. Also, she does all of her training with the Blaze. So she actually just comes to Derbyshire. I spoke to her about it last time, and she basically just plays here, but does all of her training with the Blaze. And that's quite a thing for a young cricketer who's also playing uni cricket as well. You know, going between the few teams, you need to be quite strong about your technique.
Let's hit into the point region, and there is no run. Callis shapes to do a big shy at the bowler's end, but decides against it, scaring the fielder, doing the backing up the other side. Yeah, I mean, it's to settle into a team when you're not spending that much with them, but then
batter of the year here last year as well, so sort of knows the team. But it's interesting for someone like John Dyson knowing all of their coaching is sort of done by the Blaze.
Yeah, Slater left arm through the gap in the covers. It's going towards the rope, and it's another 4 runs to Cusack.
Yes, Cusack, a couple of just the classical cricket shots, the sweep in the last over, the drive there, and Yorkshire's fielding as well, maybe not quite being as good as they'd have liked it to. So Derbyshire going along nicely, 21 for 1.
Yeah, Cusack top scored in that win against Northants, 31. And, 29 against Gloucester and 17 against Yorkshire previously. So they're altering the field here. I was talking in the break about whether sometimes it's worth doing a funky field even if you don't think the ball's going to go there. They bring in a fine leg at the 45. Slater's moving her deep backward square to right behind the umpire on the rope there. There's a lovely hitch kick in the middle of that bowling action. A little bit of a hitch kick. So that's dug down straight to short third. There is no run from Cusack.
It's not quite the Lauren Bell hop, which I'm a big fan
of. There's some great ones, isn't there? One of the Northants girls, is she a Thompson? I can't remember. She's got a great start. I can't even describe it. It's sort of bending backwards before she comes forwards. It's a lovely distinct run as we get a couple of hitch kicks in there from Rachel Slater, Scottish international. Boy, that's belted back. And that's 4 runs to Cusack. Dismissed back past her colleague at the non-strikers end. 4 runs to the total. Falcons move on to 25 for 1 here at the Central Co-op County Ground, Derbyshire. As the sun's coming out, we're hoping there's going to be no more weather interruptions. We had a very neat interruption at 10 overs just to give everybody a bit of a breather because it is pretty warm and stormy out there as Slater comes in again from the racecourse and it looked like she'd been bowled then. Managed to get something to it, did she? It went down to sort of fly slip area. Yeah, she managed to get a little edge on that, so another 1 to the total. A jog through for a single. Falcons on to 26 for 1. Pittman on 1 and Cusack on 15. Cusack looking the more comfortable, but then she's faced more balls.
Yeah, when you swing hard in these sort of run chases. She did there.
I think Slater thought she got a clean bowl as she almost went up for the how's that coming in from the racecourse end. And that is indeed a clean bowled. I think she was expecting a last ball, so unfortunately Pittman is clean bowled by Rachel Slater, Scottish international. And that's the end, I'm afraid, of Pittman, because Derbyshire will have been hoping for her to be repeating some of the top score she's been getting against Worcestershire, etc.
Yeah, just beat her for pace and swung back in. Lovely left armers delivery, and too good in the end for Megan Pittman, who kept very well, but Slater with the hop, skip and the jump and the wicket. And that's the thing, Derbyshire, the run rate again is okay, but it's just Yorkshire, can they peg them back? And there's so much variety in this bowling attack, and Derbyshire's middle order, maybe come under pressure this season, and this will be a massive test once again in the sunshine at Derby.
Yes, it's a hop, skip and a jump, as you mentioned, the wicket there for Rachel Slater. That's the end of the over as well, rather conveniently. So 3 overs gone. Falcons are 26 for 2. Pittman on 1. And Kuza having scored 15. Scored 15. Porter in. Ella Porter, also on loan.
She'll come in from the City end.
She's Porter's ex-Notts.
Not listed on the team sheet though, so we will see. We don't have a number 16 down on here, but she'll come in for the 4th over. Kusa out into the offside, and there'll be no run. The scorer is also just a little bit bemused as well.
Well, it says 78 she's got on her back, hasn't she? So this says Ella, the team sheet here says Ella Porter, 78, is that right?
That's on the Derbyshire side.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's confusing.
Yeah, we know
now I'm very confused.
It could be anyone, but and they're slightly too far away for us to see. It's saying Woolston in the number 19, so we'll go with that.
Okay.
Someone's got a 6 and a 9 mixed up. Woolston then in again. Kusa goes leg side. This will be 4 more. It will get there in front of square leg, and Kusa's just going to keep on going, keep on finding the boundary.
And we were musing at the half, the innings break as well, about how they're going to work these 2 semis, because we've got 2 groups, North and South. I have asked Dr. Cricket, Dr. Raf Nicholson, and she reckons the team finishing first in the North group will play against the team finishing second in the South group, and vice versa. So that is the view from Dr. Raf Nicholson. We were struggling to find out how they're going to sort those semis in the North and the South group.
That would be intriguing at the moment. You'd have a Yorkshire Glamorgan semi-final. Kusa goes again, this time through the cupboards. There's a misfield by Rebecca Duckworth. Will it allow a second? It will. And Derbyshire again above the run rate as they continue in this power play. And this is when you have to cash in. And Kusa's certainly doing that so far.
Will the loss of wickets cause them an issue, though? How far down can they bat?
Yeah, and that's the issue. The middle overs, certainly, they've really slowed down against Northants and maybe missed out, and certainly against the spinners of Northants. But, this is the highest quality seam attack as well, in this division. And you can tell by that Slater delivery that there's a bit more pace out there. They were able to get the ball to talk a little bit as well, swinging it back in. And I was going to mention this earlier as well, but sort of the sharing of skills. When you're coming up against former international players, we know cricketers like to have a chat sort of after games, and sort of particularly bowlers. Bowlers love to talk about bowling, batters will share things, wicket keepers will talk. I hope that sort of thing really goes on when you have teams like Yorkshire coming to town, and other sides. Kusa doesn't quite time this one, because that can be really key, certainly for some of these younger Derbyshire players.
Yeah, and even for the Yorkshire players, because Michael McCann was talking, he left a lot of very useful voice notes for me, but he in great detail. They've used a lot of players from their various academies and things, and you'll see quite a lot of them without numbers on the back. That means they're kind of academy players. So, they'll be even sharing knowledge within their own teams, as you say, having a chat.
Wilson again, Kusa again hammers down the ground. Really, really good piece of field in one hand. I think it's Rachel Slater. And that's a brilliant stop.
She just stuck a paw out and stuck.
I've seen a lot of sort of goalkeeping on the field in this second innings.
But you're right, it is that. And also, somebody like Stair Callis, we've joked about how much she's playing. Or it's probably easier to count the days she's not playing for either Warwickshire, Yorkshire or the Netherlands. Passing on that info.
Porter to face first ball from Wilston. Just plays it out into the onside. Not gone very far, but enough for them to go through to us for a single. Warded the club off straight away. And after 4 overs, Derbyshire Falcons are 34 for 2.
Smart cricket there, just do drop and run. And she'll pinch the strike for the next over as well. Will Ella Porter. Kuza on 22. Porter on 1 off the one that she faced.
If you don't mind, a little plug for Derbyshire's Falcons Nest podcast, which is a new pod that they've come up with this season. We've had interviews with Wayne Madsen, Samit Patel, David Griffin, the club's heritage officer, Darren Smith, the pathway leader, and I hope they don't mind me spoiling the secret, but the next few days we'll also be hearing from John Dyson, Derbyshire women head coach. We're going to be speaking to him later on today. Really interesting to talk to him about sort of the season so far, the development and this new county structure. So make sure you go and subscribe to that. It's on YouTube as well as all these sort of podcast platforms, but for a little bit more Derbyshire women content and sort of the stories of the season, that'll be out hopefully in the next few days.
Brilliant. Oh, we need to plug that. People can be getting more informed about the women's game. Listen to the coach. We have a change of bowling from the racecourse end, and it's Oliver to this time to Porter. Right arm over, a bit of spin played through the cover point region. They trot through for a single, 1 more to the total. Falcons 35 for 2. Ella Porter, the player on loan. She got 80 in that loss against Glamorgan in the Metro Bank. 23 not out against Yorkshire last time, so she's scored against Yorkshire as the non-striker at the moment. Big wind-up. Oh, and off a hand. So nearly a caught and bowled. That would have been spectacular, but I suspect it was painful. And she stuck her left hand out. Went for the caught and bowled there.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, how sort of fielding off your own bowling, and she's shaking her hand out a little bit now.
She is.
But that would have been a spectacular catch.
Amelia Oliver, that would have been an absolute specky. That's played again to cover point. Callis cuts that off on the 25-yard circle. They get through for... They did get a single then when I was looking at the fielding.
Big puff of dust coming up after the fielding as well. It's dry out there. It feels humid even here, and we've sort of got the aircon here, but it's deceptively cool, but you forget outside sort of how warm it is. Yeah.
Oliver in again, looping. Played into the leg side, but there will be no runners. Amy Campbell in the game again at short mid-wicket. Falcons 36 for 2. Amelia Oliver to continue from the racecourse end. High backlift from Porter. Oh. Tries to dab at that, he goes straight through to the wicketkeeper, Maddie Ward, who's pointing at wanting a field position. I think they're sending square leg back to fine leg on the 45. Amy Campbell to stand with Grace Banbury at square leg, slightly forward of. Oliver to continue. That's played into the offside underneath the fielder. They get through for 1. They're sticking at that one, just the 1 then. 36 for 2 are Falcons at the end of the 5th over. So 1 more over of the power play where there are only 2 fielders allowed outside the 25-yard circle in the women's game. The numbers are different in the men's and women's game. Each circle is also different. The men's game is a 30-yard circle. The women's game is a 25-yard circle. And sometimes it's made to be an advantage to the batting side, but I think my opinion is that they ought to move it out to 30 yards because actually 25 yards with a lot of fielders very close to you, that makes the gaps very small. And I think it would be better if it was moved out. Plus, most of the commentators that here on television will talk about the 30-yard circles. They don't know the difference between the 2 games. So,
yeah, Cube coming in. I'll touch on that briefly after this delivery, which is just played away of the ledge. And also, I'm pretty sure this boundary is the same size as the men last night. So you might as well just have the circle the same size. You know, it makes it easier for everyone. And it is interesting, and Derbyshire now certainly in the 50 over game here. I remember Yorkshire's field were in so close. You know, they were, once the spinners were on, they were just piling the pressure on, even those who were in the circle. Cooper in again, a bit more whip offered, playing out to Cover, who's on the boundary in front of the hover covers, a midfield there, and they just switched off the two batters in the middle, went really alive to it, and didn't look to come for a second.
And that may be the difference. That may be where Yorkshire, certainly the back end, would have got two there and been a bit more lively.
Cooper with the sunglasses on, the off spinner, played away by Porter. There'll be no run, thrown back over the wicketkeeper's head. Falcons flag over on the pavilion where there's quite a few members on, actually, and all in some summery clothes and hats. Reverse sweep, beautifully played. I was aware of the field there and was going to run away for four as the Derbyshire coaches down below us walked round, and that was really nice awareness of where the field were placed, and a shot that's always good to see, the reverse, and Porter as our first boundary.
And I think the coach, you mentioned the coaches, I think the coaches will be happier that she was playing it into a gap there, because their Callis was quite a long way round, so there was a gap for which to play that, and they've just plugged it with a short third and a backward point.
Cooper again then to Porter, who will be more watchful of that defence out to point. England are 100 for 1 in the test match against India. India scored, I think it was 460 odd they were bowled out for. There's Cooper will continue. Again, Porter watchful, fielder coming around, and a bit of a jump out of the way by Kusa running to the striker's end. And end of the over, after the power play, Derbyshire are 44 for 2. Now, after Yorkshire's power play, they were 41 for no loss.
So... Well,
make of that what you will.
Yes, we shall. Yes, we'll be able to look back on that one and say, yeah, we like that. I think Derbyshire would like the 44, not necessarily the 2 at this stage. The power play is now over. They are now allowed up to 4 fielders outside that 25-yard circle. As Thomas, is it Thomas?
Yeah, should be. Leggy.
Yeah, Thomas to bowl from the racecourse end. Porter works that into the leg side. There is a gap there. It's a smart little pocket to put the ball into there. As the fielder comes off the rope, rear fackrel, does the tidying up, has to run back. As you say, I said it, you're never quite sure sometimes from these commentary positions whether it's an optical illusion in terms of the boundaries, but it does look like a massive boundary. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the men's boundary. So, yeah, we saw a 3 run in the first innings, so maybe it is. That's up in the air. Out through the circle, and at 4 runs. I can hear that thunk, something underneath the media position that we're in. 4 runs to Kusa, 4 more to the total as Falcons move towards that 50 milestone. 49 for 2, Porter on 10, Kusa on 28, partnership at 23.
She hits it hard, doesn't she, Kusa? There's a really good sound for that
proper
as well.
Good thump noise. Kusa, slim, tall figure. Takes another great thump. Is this going to be a 6? Oh, just one bounce. Oh, we nearly had a 6 then. So that takes Derbyshire through their 50. So Derbyshire are 53 for 2, and Kusa is on 32, and Porter on 10. So Kusa starting to get settled here. How will Yorkshire respond?
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen anyone sort of go over long on as well.
Yeah,
we've seen sort of a lot of sweeps, a lot of drives, and
there was a gap here. We've got a fielder now on the rope down in front of us. So, what will Thomas serve next to Kusa, who waggles her bat in anticipation? Takes another swipe, but this time it's through square leg. Rear fackrel won't get it, and it's 4 runs. 4 more to the total. So, 8 in 2 balls. What do you think of that then, Freddie?
3 fours in a row. I've got it down. Certainly in this over, and yeah, Kusa is motoring along. Now I was just thinking, is she going to sort of hold back? How does she play this innings? Does she look to stick around till the end? But she's just going to keep going and try and set this chase up for Derbyshire. And yeah, ticking along very well.
There's no time for patience here with chasing a big total. So Thomas in, right arm, a bit of spin, a bit of leg spin by the look of it, at the back of the hand. And that's played straight to the fielder, and there is no run.
Big bright orange sticker on her back as well, Jess Kusa. And it's also that game awareness, taking on the young leg spinner who sort of struggled a little bit with the bat earlier on as well.
And moving Amy Campbell from mid-wicket to catching fine leg on the 45. Thomas in to Kusa. Comes forward, plays that in the air. It's going to be a 6. It is! 6 runs to Kusa. Ooh, we like this. This is getting on with it. This is for Derbyshire, and that's the end of the over also. So 7 overs gone. Derbyshire Falcons are 63 for 2. Porter on 10, but more importantly, Kusa on 42 of the 23 she's faced, and smacking it around a bit. Yorkshire will need a response to this, Freddie.
Yeah, I think that's 19 off the over. Now, Jess Kusa hasn't hit a 50 this year, and there'll be no better occasion to do it. She's chipped in with a lot of useful knocks, as you said, but she hasn't been able to raise her bat yet, and she looks in really, really good touch. And she's taken the game to Yorkshire at the moment. 63 for 2 after 7 overs, 101 more. Still a long way to go in this game, but you've got to pick your overs, pick your balls as a batter in these sort of run chasers, and she's done exactly that. And now there's a few conversations going on in the field as Yorkshire try and plot their next move.
Yeah, they won't have expected this. So, yeah, there's discussions going on. And Maddie Warren's pointing in various directions, suggesting that they bring in a fine leg, I think. There's a discussion. It's interesting when you've got a wicket-keeper captain, isn't it? Because you're also going to rely on, I think, Rachel Slater there probably, and Rhea Thackrell just having a discussion. So they bring some of the fielders into this ring on the offside.
It'll be Thackrell on. If some off-spin, Porter played out into the offside for no run. And this is what Yorkshire do well. They sort of close in with that ring on the offside and they try and just dry things up. Yeah. They really do walk in with the bowler. So Thackrell, who chipped in with some useful runs. Porter, who's not quite got going, and there's a run out, and it's Porter who goes. It's
eventually
real mix-up in the middle. Derbyshire fans will be pleased that it's Porter, not Kusa, with all due respect to her, and she tucks the bat under her arm and walks off. Well, somehow we never saw a run out, and we should have done if the umpire was correct in the Yorkshire innings, but we do get one now, and Porter just wasn't getting going. Kusa came down the track. I'm not sure there was a run there, and it's a run out at the non-striker's end.
Maybe Kusa and her enthusiasm to get to the striker's end was, well, sometimes the word barbecued is used. But, I think she well and truly did Porter there, unfortunately, who goes for 10 off the 12 ball. And looking enterprising and also playing some smart shots there. I know it's only 10, but they were into pockets behind fielders and drop and run, which I think is often an underused tactic in women's batting.
Yeah, she'll be gutted there. As Kusa was getting going, she was down the other end playing a part, as you say, taking the strike over, and then a mix-up. And I think there were words exchanged. Always sounds like a frosty phrase, but there was a conversation between the two of them as she left the field.
I think maybe leave Porter for a little while in the changing room.
There's a drink with her name on it later on.
That's right. Run out by Duckworth and Thackrell, but it seemed to take about half an hour to get the run out done. It's a miscommunication, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, Kusa back on strike, and this will be interesting.
She got the strike she wanted, but possibly not at that. Well, definitely not at that expense.
As Kusa faces up, again she's itching to get down the pitch and sent back by captain. You can't run out the captain, of course.
No, well, not if you want to get selected for the next game.
So long on, long off, deep extra cover, deep mid wicket, and it's played to point. Didn't quite time it, and this has been a good over from Thackrell, bowling in the cap and the sunglasses.
point was my position, so I do enjoy watching Callis field at point because she is very good.
I think you get some of the best catches at point
Yeah.
as well. You're sort of leaping one way or the other above you. And we might have one here as Kusa goes down and there's a chance running in from long on, and that's a massive blow to Derbyshire's hopes of chasing this down as Kusa is dismissed for 42. And, well, it's not been a good over from her point of view, has it? One run out and then her own dismissal.
I mean, I'm sort of metaphorically slapping my forehead. That was very unfortunate, a series of unfortunate events, in fact. As you say, Kusa runs out Porter and then gives a catch to long on there. And she looks like so much promise there. 42 runs off 25 balls and then caught at long on.
I think it was Duckworth who took the catch. And yeah, the bat just turned in her hand. She just didn't quite nail it as she had been some of those previous shots. She goes for 42 off just 25 balls. It was a great knock. Really, really good to watch. That over 19 where she took down Thomas. But I mentioned maybe do you just go on? Do you stick or around and try and get to the end, or do you keep playing your shots? And she tried to keep playing her shots, but after that run out as well, it's a case of just try and get through the over as Noeline Davis is in. And that first ball's a little bit of a leading edge. They will scamper through for a single.
That's the end of Fackrell's over, I think. How are you on bowling in a hat and sunglasses?
Yeah.
And sunglasses, I think, is all right.
I'm not sure. I mean, we were having a bit of cricket in the park the other day, such was the weather, and I was trying to bowl. Well, I had a bucket hat on, which is a little bit different. I was trying to bowl some spin in that, and it was working until the wind picked up and took it for a ride, which distracted the batter, to be fair, because it was
the wicket?
bright orange. I didn't get the wicket.
Yeah.
The bright orange bucket hat was falling. I don't know. I feel like because Hayley Matthews does it, it is for everyone to do it. So maybe, and look, it worked for her in that over. One run off it, a run out, and a wicket. So there you go.
Yeah.
But I agree, we've got a few fashion debates in this.
Jess Woolston. Is it Jess Woolston? Yes. 16. Bowling from the racecourse end, almost from the 25-yard circle there. Slow start, building up. Oh, goes down the leg side. It's going to be given a wide. We've already got the signal, but they're going to go for a run as well. So, one run and one wide. Signal by umpire White there.
Well, Jake, who was one of them who we were playing cricket in the park, he's on the camera at the moment.
Oh, yeah?
And he's just texted saying that was the over, I ramped you. And, heck of a shot. That was one ramp that paid off. So,
some of the tech crew having a little in-fight here.
Tech crew cricket matches. So anyone invited.
Oh, yeah.
But this week, we just had to. It was absolutely glorious weather.
It was Captain Darlow to face first ball. He goes back, defends it, thinks about a run, but there isn't a run there. Just feeling the bat on the ball.
We actually went to that. I'm sure you must have seen the sixes.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Derbyshire played at Edgbaston last week, and we had a day out, started at sixes, and facing Glenn McGrath and all that, and to varying outcomes. And, very good fun, really good setup they've got in there.
Yeah, I've seen the one down at Hove at the ground there as well. That's defended just down into the ground, and there is no run. Falcons 66 for 4. Darlow having faced 2 balls, but not off the mark yet. Noeline Davis on 1 off the one she's faced.
Yeah, tricky now for Derbyshire. That run out on the Kusa wicket, that's an over that really could define this run chase.
Jess Woolston in again, right arm over. Ooh, there's a thump on the pads and half an appeal. More in hope, I think, than expectation. The dot ball. Woolston got a wicket against Derbyshire last time, 1 for 14. Took 1 for 17, the best economy against Leicestershire. Falcons 66 for 4. They started well, and then giving away a couple of wickets, it feels. Woolston, and again, elbows tucked in tight. That's played into the leg side, past back brace Banbury at square leg to the fielder coming off the rope. They just get through for a single. Another one to the total, 67 for 4. Both of the batters off the mark now. They've got to establish a partnership here, Derbyshire. Having set off top edge for 4, first ball, and Kuza smacking the ball round and then getting herself caught. Can they establish a new partnership as Woolston starts a run up again? Oh, goes through the batter, but there's going to be another dot there. There is no run. Struggling with the line and length here, I think, Nolan Davis.
Yeah, good accuracy, just not offering up any width. And Yorkshire already not using their 5 bowlers, and more to come if needed.
Woolston in again. Oh, it's up in the air. It's past there, Callis. She's going running after it, and then gets some backup and they get a single. I think she thought she was in there a little bit. That's the end of the over, so already 9 overs gone. Falcons are 68 for 4. Darlow on 1 and Nolan Davis on 2. We got some. Did you say you got some comparison figures?
Well, I've got so Yorkshire after 10 was 66 for 1. So Derbyshire have scored more runs, but they're losing those wickets.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a case of, can they set it up to have something to chase in the final few overs? And middle overs are so often about consolidating and building a partnership. It's just whether Derbyshire, have the power hitting at the death that we saw with Yorkshire as Amy Campbell. Seems like Derbyshire's power hitting a lot of the season has been up front. As that's a reverse sweep, not middled it at all. Nolan Davis, Fackrell continues from the City end.
Because that's an interesting point you mentioned about, I wonder if Amy Campbell had come in earlier, whether that would have been a massive total, because it felt like she was in the mood.
Yeah, that's why she was so effective in the 50-over game, and she just had more time up there. And Nolan Davis uses her feet, beats cover, mid-off round to do the fielding, and taken by Thomas. What I'd love is if Thomas decides she wants to bowl an over of off spin, and they have to find someone to wear the gloves to keep to her. Not Thomas, sorry, Maddie.
I'm with you. The wicket keeper, give her a chance to bowl. Yeah.
Fackrell again, just defended into the onside. It's the sort of thing that it will happen in those sort of long red ball matches that are just petering to a close. They'll say, I'll give the wicket keeper a bowl, and then someone's going to put the gloves on and bowl a load of half trackers.
Ooh,
well played there by Adriana Darlow. Split the 2 fielders over mid-wicket, and a much-needed boundary, really.
Felt like a pressure release there, didn't it? That shot picked a nice big gap there.
Yeah, it is a ground where you can score runs. It's a pitch where you can score runs, and picking gaps is just so important.
Field change.
Darlow just works this out for a single. They're going to have to hurry, and the throw was a decent one and just wide of the stumps. Been a good game of cricket, this one way or another. You look at Yorkshire and the quality they've got. They're going to be in Tier 1 next year. You've got a Derbyshire side that's learning, that's been put under the pump by Yorkshire, and both sides have been in the game for large parts of the bat. And ball as that's edged and it's gone past Maddie Ward. I don't think it's going to go for 4. It's not. Fielder
Woolston cuts it
down in front of us, gets there, and a little bit of luck going Derbyshire's way. But this has certainly been the closest contest between the two sides out of the 4 meetings between them this year.
We speculated, didn't we, in the rain delay of the first innings, whether there was, whether we could smell an upset on the cards. We shall see. It's half. Oh, it's half time. So 140. Well, and they should be well on target for this with the Jenkins formula, double plus 20.
As I say, the Jenkins formula, the wickets. Derbyshire scored 10 more at this stage than Yorkshire had. But Yorkshire, they just went on this final few overs, and but they lost their wickets towards the end while they were scoring runs. Derbyshire have lost their wickets at the start while they're scoring runs. So. Yeah, intriguingly poised, and I'm sure if you offered this to John Dyson and the Derbyshire side this morning, I don't think he'd have minded to be in this position too much of 10 overs to go.
No, indeed. The Jenkins formula would take them to 172, which is well more than they need. So it'll be something, it's a game within a game as Thomas comes over the wicket. Oh, thumps the pads. Going down leg, I think, is the answer even from where we are. And that's another dot ball.
Yeah, Thomas last over went for 19, of course, when Kusa ran after her. So this will be an interesting one if Darlow looks to target her too.
Again, chopping and changing some of the bowlers. Thomas in again. A big swipe. That's sent out to backward square and they get through for a single. Another one to the total. Falcons 77 for 4. Darlow on 7. Noling and Davis on 5. So starting to build a platform here. Noling Davis smacks her back into the ground. Big wind up. Ooh, I don't know where that was going. I think that was going into the race course if she got all of that one. Big wind up, but there was no run. So dot ball. Yorkshire wanted to start collecting these. Derbyshire starts turning these into 4s if they can. Oh, so she's clean bowled. Nolan Davis is clean bowled by Thomas. Sweeping across that one, played all across it and dislodged the bails. And the Falcons now are 77 for 5. Nolan Davis goes for 5 off the 8 balls she's faced. Darlow on 7. Just talking about building a partnership. Lost the wicket, Freddie.
Yeah, the sweepers, they've been looking to use it in this over. Both of these batters not quite paying off. And yeah, 77 for 5 now. Again, puts the game back into Yorkshire's hands. The run rate just starting to climb. And yeah, the spinners, and credit to Thomas as well, coming back on and bowling with some nice control and finding the wicket. And yeah, the pressure now onto Derbyshire. And I was just having a look at the league table as well. So Yorkshire, if a win here, will take them 6 points clear of Northamptonshire still back. If Derbyshire were to go on and forge an unlikely victory, they'd go top of the table. 2 points clear of Yorkshire. Of course, the top 2 go through to finals day, which is at Northampton. Northampton's next 2 games are against Yorkshire. So it's an intriguing group. I mean, both of them are, but, you know, all of these teams, especially with 4 points for a win, they're sort of all in it. You could even make a case for Worcestershire if they were to make a bit of a resurgence. So, yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, we shall see. So we're gonna find out how good the middle and lower order of Derbyshire are. As the left-handed bat here in Andrews for Derbyshire. So they're only left-handed bat looking down that roster, I think. If I've done my homework right. Andrews to face. Swipes that into the leg side. There are 2 fielders there who are going to cut that off and get a single. Another one to the total. See, nibbling away at this. Falcon, 78 for 5. Darlow to face the captain. On 7 off the 9 balls she's faced. What can Derbyshire do here in terms of... They need some boundaries just to give themselves a bit of a breathing space, as that's played underneath the bowler, who claims obstruction, I think, but they get through for a single. I don't think the batter really made that much difference. They get a single, it's the end of the over, and 11 overs are gone. Falcons are 79 for 5, Darlow on 8, and Andrews on 1. Just as the bowler has a little word with the umpire about whether she was obstructed or not.
Not particularly happy, is she?
No, she's wandering away, chuntering. She may well find herself doing some paperwork for that.
Were you in trouble with the umpires, or were you kind
of... Oh, I was very well behaved.
Yeah.
See, cricket is ultimately frustrating because you understand it more when you've stopped playing.
Yeah.
I didn't understand enough to complain. And also, we were always grateful if somebody umpired, so you know, it's best to be.
And you want to get on their side as well, in terms of when those decisions are being made.
And yeah, it was not the professional game, so it wasn't trying to get in the umpire's ear.
Here's Woolston. That's lifted through square leg, drops short of the fielder, who'll catch it on the bounce. Woolston, he signed a 2-year deal ahead of this year. Graduated from Leeds Beckett with a degree in sports coaching recently. Came through Durham's age groups, played for them and Yorkshire, and then Northern Diamonds.
Yes, because when they made the bids, there was a kind of expectation that Yorkshire would win the North East bid, and then there was a bit of a shock when Durham won it instead. So, and then the repercussions of that.
Andrews then 1-1, and was she edged that? Or I think it's been put down behind the stumps. If she did, I don't know if there was any back there.
Well, what happened there? Because we're behind the wicket-keeper here.
You can hear some good shouts out in the field, certainly loud, the Yorkshire fielders, encouraging the bowler. Maybe there was a little nick there, actually, and certainly was put down by the wicket-keeper. If there was, 80 for 5, Derbyshire Falcons, a run rate approaching 10 and 1 required. That's a good shot, though, and will help the cause from Maria Andrews. Lifted over deep mid-wicket, cow corner in front of what was the East Midlands Demolition stand. I suspect now it's that Monarch stand with the new sponsor, and a much needed boundary for Maria Andrews.
Yeah, they're going to need some more of those just to take the pressure off themselves and the rest of the Derbyshire batting line-up.
$80 more needed to win. Certainly not out of the question, and that will keep the Derbyshire fans and the neutrals interested.
We have got some spectators around.
Woolston then round the wicket to the left-hander. It's flicked into the similar region. There'll be at least 2 from Andrews. There'll be 4 more. Well, the boundaries are coming in sort of clusters at the moment, aren't they? When one batter takes a liking to a bowler, they really try and go after them, and it's exactly how it should be done. Really nice spat swing again from Andrews. It's a nice match-up for her by the look of it.
And you mentioned about Derbyshire learning as they go, because the Yorkshire players mostly are fully paid professionals. The Derbyshire players are not, and they are having to learn as they go along. They're not spending all day every day training and playing and practicing, but their opposition are. So can they prove a point here?
Shows the value of what training sessions Derbyshire have, the work they've had. And a lot of these players, they did win the T20 County Cup last year and had success there on the finals day. A lot of that squad are in this team now. Andrews misses that one again. It's put down behind the stumps. Good pace from Woolston as the sun's shining through again. And I'm really looking forward to speaking to John, actually, because certainly I think everyone who's watched this team this season can see there's been massive improvements, and moving on into next year, another winter of training, it's really exciting. And obviously a lot of counties are in the same position, but there's certainly a core of a lot of talented cricketers in this Derbyshire side, and a lot to look forward to in the future, as is the case with any young team. Andrews goes leg side again. It's going to be between the 2 fielders. They'll push for 2. Fielding in the deep.
That's a really good point, actually, because having seen it's the end of the over, isn't it? Do you want to do that one?
Yeah, 90 for 5. So off the over.
Yeah, I was going to make the point when the regional setup started, which was the last setup till this year in 2020. It was during COVID, and there were only a few games, and the 8 regions played a few localised games, 50 over that first season, and then went into a winter of training where there was a core of the squad that were fully paid professionals, and then students, etc. And then as the regional setup went through the 5 seasons, they got more and more fully paid professionals, more and more contact time, playing on decent pitches, which I also mentioned earlier, and that made a huge difference. And you'd see like the trajectory of the improvement because of the contact time in the close season was amazing. It's sort of straight through there. There was a swipe, but there was a dot there. No run. Falcons 90 for 5. Yeah, I think that what you will see is massive improvements as they get more time with the coaches, and the fitness and technique that's gone up in the air. It's going to be caught. Top edge to the wicket keeper. So that's the end of the captain, Darlow. She got 9 off the 12 ball she faced, and then top-edged one, unfortunately, to the wicketkeeper. We were wondering what was going to happen in terms of how are the middle and lower order of Derbyshire going to respond to this. It's a big total. They've set off well. Unfortunately, lost. I think the run out may well be a turning point, but that sort of felt like a given away wicket. How are we doing? What are your run rates? Have you got your this stage more or less?
Get in there, not quite. So I'm doing that after the power play.
Oh, yeah.
I do 10,
Okay.
15 and 20. So you can ask me at 15. But it's still, run-wise, it's still in touching distance, really. If, a couple good overs, you back up with the required run rate. But unfortunately, as we worried, from a Derbyshire point of view, it's losing the wickets. That is what's going to harm their chances the most. And 90 for 6. It's Yorkshire's game to lose now.
Harriet Parkin coming in, who was going to be 12th, wasn't she? But there was a last-minute switch. So
there was an
Parkin
injury
gets to
to
play.
Natasha Allen.
So Parkin takes a guard, and Thomas is going to bowl right arm over to Harriet Parkin. Yorkshire close in, looping delivery down the leg side. We're going to have a wide there. Another one to the total.
Took a really good catch earlier, did Parkin, to remove Duckworth for 2.
Yep. Thomas. What can she serve here? Parkin. Rocks back, but can only find the point fielder instead. Callis. There is no run. Yorkshire, as you mentioned, chirping away in the field here to keep each other going, which is a skill in itself in terms of keeping that energy going in the field. Sunshine here at Cooper Co-op Ground, Central Co-op County Ground at Derbyshire. The umpires exchange a signal. Umpires Knight and Banbury. The bowler tossing the ball, hand to hand. Parkin to face, big looping delivery up and over the fielder. There is a gap there. Are they going to cut that off? There's a diving save from Rhea Fackrell there. They get 3 for 2. Good shot there, up and over Amy Campbell. She's going to get sent to fine leg for her trouble there, and taking her out of mid-wicket, sending her back to the 45-degree fine leg. Alston to Parkin again. Will she try that again? Are they leaving her that gap to tempt her? Are they hoping she's going to top edge it or something? Thomas into Parkin. Another loopy delivery into that gap that Amy Campbell's left behind. Just the one though. Another one to the total. As Derbyshire move in on that potential 3-figure milestone. So Falcons 94 for 6, 13 overs gone, 7 overs remain. Parkin on 3, Andrews on 11.
Yeah, well, in the 3 games against Yorkshire this season, Derbyshire are all out for 66, 83, and then they scored 104 for 7 at Headingley, so they're going to surpass likely all of those scores.
Well, that will be a positive, whatever the result of the game. And they've looked good in phases, but we've said that the loss of 6 wickets is going to be hard for them to work out from. So we shall see what can Parkin and Andrews build here.
Fackrell will continue to cause problems with her bowling. Parkin facing up, and Andrews is off to a flyer, 11 off 6. Will she have some support at the other end? Parkin, who came through Derbyshire's age groups.
Frackle got a 4 for, didn't she, last time against Derbyshire?
The off spinner again, using her feet as Parkin. She's kept with her back foot in the ground in the end. Looked half a shout, and square leg umpire not being moved.
Yep. Teamwork there from the umpires. Grace Banbury just taking a step and looking at a colleague. Not out is the decision.
Required rate climbs above 10. Yeah, that was close actually. Parkin this time cuts, gets it past point. and there'll be at least 2.
Yeah, they could run. They could, if they set off early, they might have got a 3 there.
Quickest running there, and just be a couple for Harriet Parkin. 68 needed to win.
I think they expected Steakhouse to cut that off then. She couldn't quite get.
Yeah, you've got to be running as hard as you can at this stage. The boundaries are drying up. Parkin down the track, hit nicely, but it's gone through, and now you go, because that's running away to the boundary, and you take what you can get.
That feels like a burgled fall there, underneath the fielder, who looked like she got it completely covered. Unfortunately, he went through her legs, took a deflection, and had enough speed on it to make its way over the boundary.
Interested to know the Yorkshire take on this performance, because I feel like we've seen what they can do as a side, and maybe there've been a couple of areas they'll feel there could just be improvements in, as Parkin just plays that past the ball who was diving. And it's hard to judge as well in terms of Yorkshire's season, because they beat Essex in the County Cup, which was a great result, but they're playing sides they're not going to be playing against next season, and how ready they are for the step up. On paper they should be, but it's going to be really interesting to see how they go next season.
That is a really good point, actually. Yes. And the fact that they've got through a lot of players during this season, with what Michael McCann was telling me.
Final ball of Thackeray's third over. Parkin gets across her stumps, looks for the sweep and misses it, and at the end of the over, 100 is up for Derbyshire, 100 for 6 overs remaining. They need 64 more to beat Yorkshire. That point about they need to make a step up at the end of this season when they start playing in Tier 1. Having tested out, I guess, almost auditioning, I know they've had some injury issues, but getting through a lot of players and trying them out, I mean, that may well be a smart move, because you decide, almost a trial.
All these kind of academy players, pathway players, which ones are going to... And it also gives them some competitive edge, and it's like looking over the shoulder and they're like, well, if I play really well here, I'm going to get a full-time contract out of this. So there's a bit of an incentive there. And I guess Glamorgan, although they've got another season to wait to get into Tier 1, will be doing something similar with the various folks that they've got on loan from Somerset, etc. So we'll see how that goes as Cooper comes in. Ooh, it's a clean bowled. And she took a big swipe at that, did Andrews. Left exposed her stumps, and that's a wicket for Cooper. So Andrews goes for 11 off the 6 balls that she's faced, clean bowled by Cooper.
Yeah, I think that could be the game. Andrews has hit a couple of 4s. Previously, she'd been starved of the strike, actually, with Parkin facing most of those deliveries, and looked to charge Cooper, and a tall order has become even taller. Andrews with a little handy knock of those couple of boundaries, and she took on the ball well, but Cooper's got that experience.
Yeah, getting the strike rate. I mean, good strike rate now, 11 off 7. And, but,
they've proven they can hit this, but the boundaries, but it's just that, these wickets are just going to cost Derbyshire ultimately.
And maybe that is just the kind of cricket smarts thing, isn't it? That, that once they get more cricket under their belt, once they get more contact time with the coaches, and they get a bit smarter about these things. And we saw early doors, that there's some drop and run, and there's some picking some pockets and trying to run quick ones. And you mentioned it, running the first fast, trying to get 2s, putting the pressure on the field. All of those things are things that you learn as you're going along. Particularly for a young side like Derbyshire, Yorkshire have the benefit of some older heads on shoulders who can have a calming effect and know those cricket smart type things. Just because of the amount of cricket they've played, really, as Cooper comes in again, this time to Clark, comes forward, plays that bump ball to Amy Clark. Oh no, straight to it. Oh, it was such slow motion, I thought it must be a bump ball.
That's 2 golden ducks in 2 weeks for Francesca Clark. Unfortunately, the caught by Campbell.
Straight to Campbell at cover, and an easier catch she will not get, I suspect, this season.
just looped.
Yeah, she's taken quite a few catches actually. The loopy one that she took early on at mid wicket, and then that one at cover. So yes, Derbyshire sort of doing for themselves really at 100 for 8.
Yeah, shame for Clark.
Yeah,
a couple of weekends where she's bowled really nicely, but wants to forget with the bat.
Yeah, probably not wanting to remember that.
And Claudie Cooper's on a hat trick.
Ooh.
So.
Oh, I know. That's a game within a game, isn't it? I mean, Yorkshire will want that.
No, I'm having a slip in here at 100 for 8 with 64 more needed.
Yeah, you can afford an aggressive field here. Yeah, getting to getting definitely to the tail here.
Oh, no slip.
Derbyshire, no. Well, they're coming into the ring, but no slip. So they didn't hear you as Rose faces Cooper. She comes back, just clips that to point. And there is no run. 100 for 8. Maybe the game within a game is how long can Derbyshire bat for now? What can they milk out of this last bit? Straight through the batter. And Maddie Ward can't quite work out why that didn't clean bowl, I don't think. It's Cooper. Halfway through the 15th over.
Yeah, it's death by spin again for Derbyshire. It's really causing them problems in the middle.
Yeah. Well, it's spooned up, and the bowler does a dive, and they have a last minute thought about taking a single, and they do get the single underneath the bowler. 101 for 8 are Derbyshire Falcons women here. And this Vitality Blast Tier 2 game, North Division. That's jammed out, and there is no run. 101 for 8, and that's the end of 15 overs, so 5 overs to go. You said that you had a comparison, didn't you?
Well, Yorkshire were 109 for 3, so they're only 8 behind. But Yorkshire were Derbyshire, but again, the wickets costing them. And Rose and Parkin, I'm pretty sure both in the sides as bowlers, but neither bowled. So it's sort of their first involvement in the game. Derbyshire were very happy to sort of stick with their 5 bowlers, as Yorkshire have been.
Yes, evenly spread here, aren't they, in terms of the Yorkshire bowling attack of Slater, Cooper, Woolston, Thomas and Fackrell.
It will be Jess Woolston now from the City end, so Seam coming back on.
Her last over. As Maddie Ward moves the leg side backward of square in those bright red shoes that she's wearing to keep wicket. I wonder if they're... she stepped into Lauren Winfield Hill's metaphorical shoes, whether she's actually
maybe it's
stepped
the
into
two
actual
wicket
shoes.
keepers discussing. As you say, she's left some at home and she's borrowing them. Just defended here by Rose. Yeah, and Derbyshire, I mean, I don't think we're quite in bonus point territory. I don't know if it is for the blast, is it? Or is it just the
No, there is a bonus point. Yeah, it's something to do with 1.25. Oh, I don't know, I don't do numbers. But I think it's generally, if you're chasing, it's something to do with 16 overs. Off the top of my head. But
I don't think we'll quite be in that territory.
Somebody will tell us. Somebody will let us know.
Rose on strike facing up to Woolston. How many runs can Derbyshire find from these last few overs? There'll be one there.
That's well worked into leg side there.
Just good for these two to have some time in the middle as well after not featuring with the ball. Derbyshire's lower order has not really scored any runs this year. There's no one who's really sort of chipped in with a surprise of 40 or 50.
Guy Goodman, who follows me on Twitter, or Twix or whatever you want to call it now, says he likes Risky Biscuit that I mentioned earlier. So thanks, Guy.
No such thing as a risky biscuit. As Woolston continues, that's nicely played by Parkin through the covers for another single.
Risky Biscuit, do you think Garibaldi, I'm always worried that there might be dead flies, not actually raisins in that, so maybe that's a Risky Biscuit.
Yeah, stale.
Yes, Guy's been very rude. He said he's doing the live stream to hear my commentary for his bingo card that he's got of my sayings that he likes. I don't know what he's ticked off so far. Perhaps he can let us know.
Yeah. My girlfriend did that for a football match once when we were watching Arsenal on the TV, and I was shocked at how many were ticked off. As Wolston continues leading edge, and the catch is taken. Derbyshire 9 down, and Yorkshire are almost there. Rose goes for 2.
She didn't look really settled, did she? Despite that shot that she just played into the leg side, which was actually a really smart move. But, edged up for an easy catch, unfortunately. So it feels like the last rites here for Derbyshire, unfortunately, and they had it in their grasp because they went off really well. They were ahead of the run rate. They were those wickets though. That's what's really done them.
Yeah, that Kusa dismissal. I mean, when you are a side like Derbyshire as well, you can end up pinning your game on one person's dismissal, but then also you have that discussion as actually could more have chipped in. And I don't think they could have done lots more with the ball, to be honest. As we said, I think against this Yorkshire side, it was a decent bowling performance, and Derbyshire were in the run chase. They were getting above the run rate, and Yorkshire just kept chipping away, and they're 1 wicket away. Final batter is out there.
McDonald.
And let's see how long she can survive for, otherwise could be over quickly. McDonald facing up, so wide, leaving it down the leg side. And Derbyshire, I'm sure, in a season of learning, they will be taking the positives once again.
So Rose was caught off the bowling of Woolston.
Who's impressed you for Yorkshire today? I'll let you have a think, and then we'll go back after this delivery. I mean, Campbell will be the obvious one, but we talked a lot about Derbyshire, but it's going to be Yorkshire's win as McDonald just defends this out to point.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to pick the big batting score, isn't it? Really, and my question is, like I mentioned to you earlier, I wonder if Campbell had come in earlier, they may well have been, given that she's 43 not out, they may well have been chasing an even bigger score. So Derbyshire did well in the field to restrict them almost to that score.
Final ball of Woolston's afternoon. Struck McDonald on the pad, and the finger belatedly goes up, and Woolston strikes for her final ball, and the final ball of this last game, which goes the way of Yorkshire, who extend their lead at the top of the North Group now to 6 points above Northamptonshire, who they will play twice in the coming weeks. Derbyshire's run of 2 wins comes to an end as they shake hands with the umpires, the 2 batters, and they'll go and shake hands with the Yorkshire bowling, the Yorkshire side. It's a convincing win for Yorkshire, who are excellent with the ball despite some early pressure from Jess Kusa, and it's a 60-run victory for the away side. Their 4th win in all competitions against the Derbyshire Falcons, and a deserved one in the end.
Yeah, and you mentioned about who'd impressed me. I mean, Yorkshire, one would expect, as fully paid professionals doing this full time, you'd expect them to be sharp in the field. They were sharp with the bowling. They were smarter in the batting innings, which they were, although they certainly needed to tighten up that power play, because they were really struggling in terms of building partnerships there. They just did not look tuned into each other's batting, and that may well be because you've got new players coming in and out of that and all the rest of it. Amy Campbell, it's hard to look past because she was hitting some big runs. She hit the only 6 of the game. In terms of Derbyshire, I was impressed with Kusa, but then she just, having run a colleague out and then gets out. Unfortunately, that was a shame, really. So, and they were in this with the, like we said, in terms of the runs, they were up with that, but just that lower and middle order again. That's the difference between a fully paid professional side and a fully training professional side. And a side that's not in that league in terms of the amount of time that they get on coaching and all the rest of it. So, yes, disappointing. But we wondered if there might be an upset. But when Yorkshire got through to like 160, you think, well, this is going to be a hard total to chase down. 163 for 5 they got, but Derbyshire managed to get to 104, so Yorkshire win by 59 runs. And yeah, so I don't know. So well, thank you. Yeah, so this has been Derbyshire versus Yorkshire. Yorkshire have won by 59 runs. You've been listening to the voices of Claire Jenkins, former Derbyshire player, and Freddie Cardy, Derbyshire live stream. If you're mad enough to want to listen to me again on commentary, I will be at Worcester for Worcester, Leicestershire at the Visit Worcestershire Ground at New Road on Sunday the 13th of July. In terms of the next fixtures then, so Yorkshire on Friday the 27th go back home to play at Headingley against Worcestershire Rapids. And in terms of Derbyshire, their next game is Saturday the 28th of June up at Chesterfield. Derbyshire versus Worcestershire. Going to be up there?
Yes, alongside Ali Byrne. So plenty of fun underneath the Chesterfield spire. Derbyshire opening the Chesterfield Festival, the women's team against Worcestershire, which is brilliant.
Well, you want to tune in for Freddie, but also you want to tune in for Ali Byrne, who was mad as a box of frogs.
We had a great time doing the 50 over game together, so I'm looking forward to that.
So those are the next couple of games for these two teams. What else do you think then, Freddie? What's your take on today?
Yeah, just really looking forward to hearing from John Dyson, getting a bit more, information. But I think for the Derbyshire fans who've seen the two women's games here, they're going to see, so much of an improvement in the fielding. The bowling continues to be a strength, and I just think, as you say, game smarts with the bat. That's something that they can look to improve moving forward, and there's a lot more to come from this side. And I think they can walk away with their heads held high from today. Yorkshire over there, sort of in their team huddle, sat around discussing the game by the dugouts, and looking forward to going up to Chesterfield. There's always some good crowds up there, another change of scene, and a big game really against Worcestershire, who are bottom of the group, and Derbyshire is still very much in contention for a trip to Northampton on finals day, and they'll hope Yorkshire do them a favour by beating the teams around them.
And there's a great atmosphere up at Chesterfield Festival as well, so get yourself up there, take your picnic chairs and stuff, and I'm sure it'll be free entry and lots of fun, ice creams, and that'll be great fun, so I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself there.
Yeah, absolutely. And enjoy this today, Claire. Good to work with you for the first time, and we will we'll wrap up. Good to see you.
Thanks, Freddie, and thanks very much for welcoming me here. And it's been great fun to do my first commentary as an ex-Derbyshire player at Derbyshire.
Yeah, absolutely. A pleasure as always. And Derbyshire to Chesterfield on Saturday, and if you're not there, we'll be on the live stream same time on the Derbyshire channel. So thank you all for tuning in.